Slasher season is back, baby. Welcome to episode 10 of Chopping It Up. The gang's all here today as we immerse ourselves in one of the most famous horror franchises on film, Friday the 13th. The episodes we chose to compare today are Part 4, The Final Chapter, and Part 6, Jason Lives. We follow the Tommy Jarvis arc as Corey Feldman returns from our Lost Boys ep for another feature appearance. The bodies stack up quickly this episode, so it should be fun and fast-moving. Once again, I'm your host, Jesse Goodman. I couldn't warm up to him if we were cremated together. Co-host and intrepid field reporter Michael Sled is here. If his brains were fuel, he couldn't power a Flea's motorcycle around a raindrop. Joel Reeves is in the house. And he's colder than a banker's heart. Co-host and executive producer Jay also joins us. Don your hockey mask, as Sled has done. Grab a machete / hatchet / scalpel / hacksaw / whatever, and let's get to it. All right. First impressions in Meat Cleaver ratings. For both Part 4 and Part 6. Sled's killing me. If you have not done so yet and you're listening to us today out there, you have got to check out the YouTube feed just to see Sled donning.
Just to see him. He's out of control.
Just to see him hit the coiffure, the hair, the face, the fucking hockey mask, the whole deal. Let's go ahead and go around the horn with this. Joel, I don't think I've ever had you lead off, so you're up first. Jazz, you're second. I'll go third, and Sled, I mean, always the wild card, so you go ahead and bring up the rear. Joel, what do you got?
So these are really, really good slashers, and of the series, these are probably my two favorites. Although I do kind of like Freddy versus Jason because I hate myself.
Are we counting that as part of the franchise?
Oh yeah, it's absolutely it is counted in the franchise statistics. I'm going to talk about later.
I disagree.
Don't you worry.
Sled,
Sled.
It's not part of the canon.
That's right. All right. We'll get into that later.
Hold on. So I'm actually going to give both 4 cleavers.
Oh, let's go. All right. Jazz, you're next.
Right. So Part 6, I thought was just a ton of fun. It's just sort of like nonstop ridiculousness. And I have like some particular scenes that I'd comment on later, which I can only imagine were almost they just feel like they have the producer's fingerprints all over them from like, let's correct a mistake from Part 5 in various forms. So I thought Part 6 was just like so much fun, a lot of good kills, just like relentless motion throughout the whole thing. So I'm going to give that one a solid like 4.25.
Let's go.
And Part 4, I thought, with the exception of everything that Crispin Glover did in it, which was perfect and mesmerizing and magnetic, I thought Part 4 was actually fairly boring. Huge dead spots for big parts of the movie, and fairly uninspired kills, I think, to be honest. So I think I wouldn't put it in my top, top handful of Friday the 13th movies. So I'm probably just going to give that one like a 3.25, just like subtract 1 point from how good Part 6 was.
Okay. All right. God, it's crazy. It's crazy because I'm such a mark for this franchise. It is, full disclosure, it's my favorite horror movie franchise out there. I'm a quintessential slasher guy, and this is kind of what turned me on to horror movies in general, with my dad watching it when I was younger. But you guys both graded like markedly higher than I did. So for Part 4, I gave it Part 4 is actually, I like better than Part 6. I do agree with you, Joel, that Part 4 and Part 6 are probably the two best. Sled and I stop the franchise after Jason Takes Manhattan. It's basically like anything after Rocky 4 doesn't really count. Anyways, I gave Part 4 a 3.4333333 meat cleavers. Really fun to rewatch it and just to revisit all the movies. The final chapter sort of has all the elements and hallmarks of like slasher fare on display. It moves fast, and you get multiple kills before we're even like 14 minutes in. all the stuff that's now cliche and camp, of course, was earnest and new back then, or new-ish back then. The teenagers partying at the cabin in the woods, the sex and drugs, blissfully unaware of all that, danger lurking outside and around the corner. And like I've always said, I'm sort of a mark for a peek into the interior lives of these like super one-dimensional characters that haven't really been fleshed out by the writers, but it's fun watching. It's brain candy, and I love it. Part 6 is a little more self-aware and has that humorous streak through it. I gave it a 3.00001 meat cleavers. I know. I wanted to be, I was trying to strike the balance between what I really love and like what is objectively quote good. I don't know. I didn't know how
I also
we're
love
really
the
doing
precision. To your
yeah,
measurements.
I take some time on this. We get off to a quick start. My man Arnold Horshack gets his chest punched out completely by Jason, so I really love the start. Standard camp counselor setup. They also have that, bring that out. I found the back third of the movie sort of drag, which I know it technically picks up the pacing, but for me, I was losing interest, and I guess we can get into that later. The kills, actually, contrary to what you're saying, Jazz, I thought they were lacking because they didn't have that explicit gore. Lots of cutaway shots. Still a really good effort, top 2 with part 4 in the franchise and among the better ones. Now we're going to turn it over. Listeners, we don't know where we're going with this. Sled, what do you got? I don't know. I have no fucking idea.
I didn't know what I was going to get when I watched these. When for background.
I hate to interrupt, but I'm being very careful not to have a beverage in my mouth while Sled is talking for this.
The madman Michael Sled.
The bad man from Borgers, Texas. No, he's not from Borgers.
So I started, so background, part 4 is actually the first one of these movies I saw as a kid.
Wow.
And I think part 6 might have been the second one I saw, actually. And then I went back. I'm a little younger than y'all. Y'all are born in what, 77? So I was born in 80. And so I went back and watched 1 through 3. What is going on? Someone playing a movie? Oh, I can hear something. Anyways, so I went back and watched 1 through 3. So I've seen these movies a bunch of times, but I really didn't know what to expect or what I was thinking I might get because I hadn't watched either of them, like sitting down and really going through them and like paying attention. I'd watched them in the background a lot. But and I sat down and I watched them really carefully multiple times, and I actually came away, Jesse, being positively surprised. I think that part 4 is essentially like the platonic ideal of your horror movie. That was my percent. Like just the violence, sex, bunch of ridiculous shit. I liked it. None of the Friday the 13th scare me. So.
Which we agree is not a good definition of horror, right?
But within the context of like stuff in a horror movie, I think I give part 4, particularly as like an 80s encapsulation. I'm gonna give it like a 4.25 stars, I think. And I think your selection of the 2 movies, and now this is going to lead into my rating for part 6. I think the selection you made was the perfect selection. If you had to pick 2 movies to do this series with, I think these were the perfect ones because of the way part 4. So part 4 gives you a recap of 1 through 3, right? So you see, you essentially in brief form at the beginning get to see all the movies leading up to it. Yeah. And then part 5 is a hunk of shit, so you don't worry about watching that. And then you go straight into part 6, which part 6 is basically the first movie. The first part 6 is the first movie of the rest of Jason's life and kind of tells you exactly how it's going to be that because it's the first one where he's definitely a supernatural being and has all these powers. So that leads to my rating for part 6. Part 6 is actually me personally my favorite. I don't know if I necessarily rate it as high as I rate part 4 just because of the context historically and how they relate to each other, but I would give part 6, I'll give it 4 stars. They're both super fucking fun movies. That's the biggest, I just think they're both really fun movies. So
yeah. All right. Excellent. Really
Told
nice.
you didn't know where I was going to go.
I did not, man. Sometimes he zags when I think he's going to zig. I'm happy to hear it. This kind of stuff, before we turn it over to Joel's segment here to get all the numbers in, this kind of stuff just puts me in a good mood, man. Fall's hitting here. This is where I think this podcast is going to find its stride now with, the greatest horror franchise, Friday the 13th. We got Halloween around the corner. We got Thanksgiving. This is the stretch where a lot of the good classic stuff comes out. And it's just super fun to watch, like you said. I mean, platonic ideal of a horror movie is like literally the exact turn of phrase I was going to use for part 4. But all right, let's go ahead and keep things moving here. Let's turn it over to Joel for Joel's movie stats segment here, where he parses out, all the important numbers and facts and figures and cast and crew. All right, let's go.
I now play that song every time I enter a room. I just have that playing in the background at all times.
It's the romance music with the wife during the undressing.
That's right. Is that weird?
It's always been mine. So.
All right. So these are weird movies to do research on. I'll just start with that. There's a lot of people in these movies. Like, I'm not going to be able to go through everybody in the cast. They're ensembles. There are people that appear in these movies for mere seconds to die, right? It is nuts.
Just like real life.
Yeah, just as it's supposed. In the sense of like a fruit fly's life. So Friday the 13th Part 4 was released in 1984. Joseph Zito, I think is that
yes,
Zito,
yes.
Zito.
Why do you hate it? You hate Italian so
Is this
much.
like a bit?
Yeah, sure. It's a bit. It's a bit. Yeah, we're gonna go with that.
What? It's Zito, right?
Yes,
Zito.
of course it is. Like, Jesus Christ.
Zito.
Joel, I'm not even from the fucking East Coast. We don't allow Italians into Texas.
All right, so
Joel's basically like, if your name wasn't on the Mayflower Manifest, I can't pronounce it.
look. My family
He sees a vowel on the end, and it just fucking like shorts out. Like,
He's like, Joe, who's that? Joe Guido? I don't know.
Guido was so he also directed. I'm gonna try and get us back on track, gentlemen. Also directed Missing in Action, I think 1 and 2. So yeah, that's weird.
what? Ooh, that. Oh, sorry.
So no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, is that how Eric Anderson, who played Rob Dyer, got in there? Because he was also in Missing in Action.
I absolutely think it is. There are several people connected through one way or the other. I forget which one came first, whether it's Friday the 13th Part 4 or Missing in Action, but there are other people connected. So the writer was Victor Miller, right? There's several people that worked on it, but Victor Miller is the original contributor to Friday the 13th Part 1. And Jesse, I think you'll probably get into this later, but this was conceived as the official ending of the series. Like, that was the intent of Part 4.
Right. Which explains
well, Part 3,
why they...
Part 3 was supposed to be the ending also, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
That was my impression. It was like he meant to end it on Part 3, and then they made there was something like he decided to end it on, like he made Part 4 to end it again.
I think we'll find that there were lots of false starts and false endings in this franchise, and part of what makes it so fucking fun. All right, go ahead.
So I will get to it in a minute, but the reason why they kept doing that is they kept making more money. lots more money. So then the cinematographer, I'm not even going to try the first name.
Please try it.
No, it has a freaking accent mark in it. So I'm going to say Mr. Fernandez. He
Racist.
is known for.
You know, motherfucker, you don't know how to say Fernandez?
No, I said Fernandez just fine. The first name, Jesse. Do we want to try
Oh, the
that
first name. Gotcha.
How do
Okay.
you say that?
I don't have it written down, but spell it. Say it first. Come on, man. Give the people what they want.
J-
Give the people what they want.
Hoya? I don't know. J O A.
Yeah,
accent
Hoya. You're
mark.
right. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
So
is he
Hoya.
Brazilian?
Hoya.
Portuguese?
Yeah, that's got to be
I think
Portuguese.
he's Brazilian. I think he's actually Brazilian. So
I'm going to say
he
Zhao.
also was a
something like that.
cinematographer on
Yao.
Children of the Corn. He was the cinematographer on Children of the Corn, which I actually think is really well shot. And this movie's pretty well shot. And also in Missing in Action. Then you move down into the. I'm just going to skip into the cast. Actually, one last person. Lisa Barzami. I don't know. Barzamian is a producer on this, but she actually helped produce Friday the 13th 2, 3, and 4. I think her and her husband.
Well, before you move
we'll
on,
look.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're going to.
Yeah, please.
Go ahead.
Yeah, before you move on to the cast, I think we'd be remiss not to mention who does the music for this, who's Harry Manfredini.
I got someone else beyond that.
He did the score. He did the score for part 3, which is what we lifted for the musical riff to use the intro for this very podcast.
That's a really good catch.
He's an American composer and jazz soloist. He's done scores for hundreds of films. He's all over the Friday the 13th franchise. He's like someone who's baked into the essence of this.
Best friends with Tom
That's a good
Capello.
call. Well, and Capello comes up later too, but he's also like the score in this movie is actually really solid. Not just the main one, but like there's several segments in it that are scored really well. Like, anyways, so
I got one more person before the cast. I'm surprised you're not going to mention it. Tom Savini.
Well,
right.
Get to that special effects at the end, but go for it.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say. I mean, that guy's like a fucking horror movie legend, right?
Yes.
And he did the makeup for part 1, and he came back for part 4 to kill Jason.
Well, to kill Jason, but he was also, unless I'm mistaken, he was uncredited in this. It just is. It's an open secret, right?
He was.
Although Tommy Jarvis, my understanding is, so Tommy Jarvis is into like horror movie, like it's part of his character, and he's named Tom, so like the main character. So I mean,
okay.
So another thing that Jesse and I talked about earlier that I found in the research was Savini. So you remember how in the first Friday the 13th, there's a big jump scare at the end where Jason jumps out in a dream sequence and pulls the girl out of the boat, and his head is all physically deformed. Well, in the script, Jason had no physical deformities. Like he was just mentally handicapped. So Savini was the one who was like, no, I want to make him disfigured. And in doing that, he solidified the version of Jason that we know, right? That we see eventually under the mask and so on. So Savini is all over this. That's actually why I think the special effects, when they're used, they're a little, I don't know, back and forth on whether or not I was happy with the amount of gore, but when they're used, I think Savini does a good job.
All right, move. Let's go.
All right, so I would say the next person we're going to talk about is Eric Anderson, who really doesn't have a lot of other credits. He's in TV, NCIS, stuff like that, and then Judy Aronson is in Weird Science and American Ninja, which I thought was kind of fun.
Yeah, well, it's crazy because she's in American Ninja with Michael Dudikoff. The guy who plays Tommy in this is like a fucking garbling. He's like 2 chromosomes short of Dudikoff.
Like Dudikoff. Yeah, it's weird, right? Yeah, I thought the same thing. And okay, so then you just keep going. I'm going to skip a few people and get down to Corey Feldman. Obviously, he is, I think he's 10 in this. He might be 12. He looks young, but he might be 12.
He's
And
12. Yeah.
he's killing it in this. I would like the end sequence with him, which we will get to later. I think he's amazing. And then Jay already said this, but Crispin Glover was spectacular in this. I mean, like he's just and you know, Chef's Kiss. He's Willard is one of my favorite roles of him, which is uber creepy. He's in American Gods. He's in The Doors. Right. He's just in a ton of great stuff. All right, so then I'm going to skip to talking about Ted White, who plays Jason Voorhees. So Ted White is at this point the fourth Jason Voorhees. And dear listeners, I just wanted to give you a quick a sense of this. If you count, and we'll debate whether or not you should count, Freddy versus Jason, there are 12 Friday the 13th movies. If you don't, there's 11. Of the 12 movies, 9 actors have played Jason Voorhees. The only one who has played more than once is Kane Hodder, who played Jason Voorhees in episodes 7 through 10. So that's a little bit of fact.
For Ted White, just to dovetail on that, Joel, he was at the time that they made this, he was 58 years old, and he was the oldest stuntman or actor ever to portray Jason Voorhees. He died in October 2022. He was at that point the longest lived cast member at 96 years old. His deal during that, he was kind of an old school method actor. He refused to talk to the other actors during production because he thought socializing with them would like diminish their fear of Jason, as he puts it. He was also and they all hated him, by the way. He was a body double for Clark Gable and John Wayne.
He sounds like John Wayne the way they describe it. So really quick, this has a runtime that's lean of an hour and 31 minutes, at least the version I watched. And here's the part that everyone cares about. It had a budget of $1.8 million and made $33 million.
Let's go.
So that's a ratio of 18.3, like I was telling everybody last week. Basically, all you need is a ratio of 2 for you to get a sequel, right? Like if you at 2 to 3, you're getting a sequel in all likelihood because you're making decent money. This crushed. It had a good IMDb score of like 6, which for a slasher movie that's only an hour and a half long and less than $2 million worth of budget, 6 is really good. It's largely panned by the critics, though. It's 33% Metascore. So
I don't think they even knew what they were looking at.
I really don't think they do. This
honestly,
is just
no. I mean, that's
up,
I say it sarcastically, but I think that's to some extent like this.
Really agree.
But yeah, save it for later.
No. I'm gonna make a point on that really quick because I think you're 100% right. So the critics panned both, and I'm going to get into 6 really quick. And 6 is faster than 4 because there's less credits to it. But of the 12 films, these have made $908 million in the box office. So you're getting real close to $1 billion. So if you just think people vote with their dollars, right? These are popular, and they're popular for a reason. Because people like this kind of brain candy. I'm going to go in, be mildly scared, maybe see some tongue-in-cheek horror, and a couple kills. And that's what these movies are so good at.
Kip, before you move on to part 6, I just wanted to throw my... Oh, yeah. Let me do it and then slide you moving. Nurse Morgan at the beginning here in the hospital, in the morgue, is played by Lisa Freeman. She actually... She was in the Back to the Future movies with Crispin Glover. He played McFly in Back to the Future.
In 1 and 2.
That was one of my things.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Babs, that's amazing.
But I got more. Yeah. Are you ready to move on, or you want me to go?
No. You keep going.
So let me see. So you mentioned Eric Anderson. Like I was going to say, he was also in Missing in Action. One guy I noticed was Axel, the guy in the beginning, in the hospital
Yep.
watching
The coroner,
the fucking whatever. That's Fackler from Police Academy, and
Holy shit!
Rabbi Glickman from Seinfeld. His real name is Bruce Mahler.
Oh
Absolutely did not pick
Sled,
up on that.
Sled bringing
That
his
is
fucking
amazing.
A game tonight.
Score. So, question before we move on from him: why is it a trope that coroners
I know
are
you're gonna do this.
always eating?
We gotta
Why
do
is
this.
that
We gotta
a
do
thing?
that. We gotta do that later. I got.
All right, we're coming back to that.
Yeah.
because
Well,
that
can-
disturbs me.
Can I say about Terry and Tina, the Spearman
Please.
twins in this one? They were played by Carrie and Camilla Moore. They're actually they're British. They're both they were in a UK version of the daytime soap Days of Our Lives. You can hear their accent. It sort of starts coming out in the latter half of the movie.
Yeah, there's like soap opera act. If you look at a lot of actors in this, are like soap opera actors littered throughout.
Well,
I was going to call them out only, and this kind of, and I'm not done with 4 yet because I got 1 or 2 more people I want to talk
I'm
about.
loving this.
But the twins do kind of remind me. There were the twin guys in the paintball scene in 6, and I thought maybe that was a little bit of an homage to have them in it. But skipping on from them, so we got the hitchhiker who is never done much. I mean, she's a working actress from what I could tell. Bonnie Feldman. I like that scene a lot, so I like took some time to look up her. No information on her, and then I would be remiss.
Wait, I have information on her.
I fucking have at it.
She was in the original script. Do you know what her name was in the script?
No.
Blubbery Girl. That's how she was referred to. They were not sensitive about her weight at that point. I don't want to skip ahead, but for the questions, I mean, was she supposed to be deaf, or was she deaf in real life?
Oh, my question was she supposed to be trans?
No, that's a what do you call it?
Not even
that's an AFAB. That's assigned female at birth. She's
I don't know. And then
definitely
she ate the banana, and that's when she got killed. Like it felt very phallic, and then like I don't know. She squeaked, like there was a lot going on. Whatever. That was just my impression watching it. I don't want to get bogged down with Bonnie Feldman because I wanted to make sure.
Because you hate Jews, I know.
No,
yeah.
Is she a Jewish? I don't know.
Feldman?
My goodness.
Fucking you guys judging by book by a couple fucking whatever. So before we leave part 4, I had one person I wanted to mention, which is Joan Freeman, who plays Mrs. Jarvis. And my note that I wrote on this was that I need a Mrs. Jarvis with Diane from Poltergeist hook up fucking like MILF movie.
Hey man, she jogs around that lake, or she jogs in the woods every day, dude. She's in shape.
Yeah.
She reads.
And I even have I wrote down Joe Belk Williams, 33 to 34ish. Joan Freeman. Her birth date is not listed on Wikipedia, but it did say she graduated from high school in 1959, meaning she's probably born around 41, so she's 42 to 43ish when this came out. I think it's a perfect mashup. If anyone's got some good AI skills, please send it to the AI.
Joel,
chopping it up. You don't have to have any skills. You can just journey, and it'll
take this podcast recording part and play it into that.
Guys,
let's pause the podcast and go make this thing.
The next episode
of the taxidermy scene from
Lost Boys,
Texas Chainsaw.
The next episode is taking shape, I think, before our eyes. Joel, please move us to part 6 now.
All right. So you got Tom McLaughlin. I don't know, whatever. That guy.
Now it has to be. It's not even an ethnic name.
Okay, everything's an ethnic name. I don't know what it is.
He's right. Like I said, you're not on the Mayflower Manifest. You may as well be from
Jesus H. Christ. I mean, are you fucking? What is this guy's name? Davi Smayev? That's Dave Smith. That's Dave Smith.
It reminds me of that Key and Peele episode where it's like
J Nice.
Y'all better stop playing with me.
You got to be fucking
Eat
kidding. All right,
shit.
all right,
Eat
all right, let's
shit.
go.
That's what I say. Eat
all right,
shit and live.
please keep moving.
So that guy, he also directed. He's the director, and he also directed. Sometimes they come back the TV movies, so not the actual, commercially released film. So that's the top of his credits. Sean Cunningham was one of the writers credited in this. He was also part of the original set that worked on Friday the 13th.
It's the original director, I think. Sean Cunningham
He
was the
was.
original director.
Yeah,
and there's
but he
a
also
throwaway.
worked on the writing.
There's a throwaway in part 6. They say it's up on Cunningham Lane, which is a throwaway line.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
So cinematographer here was John Cranhouse. So Cranhouse worked on Broken Arrow and a guilty pleasure of mine, Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home.
Which one is that?
It's the one with the whales, which does not make any sense.
Yeah.
Joel, we got to
but
move.
he
We got to
was-
move, brother. I'm going to shut this thing
Sorry.
down. Let's go.
Now let him finish.
Don Burns was one of the producers. And then moving into the runtime, it was 1 hour and 26 minutes, so really, really lean. Didn't make as much money. It cost $3 million to make it and made $19.5 million at the box office. So still made a lot of money, 6.5 times ratio. So very, very profitable, but not as profitable as 4. Had an IMDb score of 6 and a Metascore even lower, which just shows the critics don't know what they're talking about, of 30. And that is it for our movie stats.
Wait,
Yeah.
So you're not going to do the cast for 6 at all?
Oh, we can. I'm being told to run. I'm hearing in my microphone.
Oh, I had a couple people I was going to call out, but not as many.
Sled, go first. Go ahead.
So the guy who played Tommy Jarvis, he was in Return of the Living Dead and Return of the Living Dead 2.
Yes.
Let's go, Sled.
He's the main character.
He's Freddy. Yeah, he's Freddy.
Yeah, he was Freddy in Return of the Living Dead and Joey in Return of the Living Dead 2.
Yeah, the director didn't have any idea that he was in those when he cast him.
Megan Garris was played by Jennifer Cook. I don't know shit that she's in, but I did notice she was in an episode of The Hitchhiker, which I've mentioned to y'all before as an obscure-ish, I guess, mystery horror anthology series that was on HBO in the 80s that I would love to do something on. It's got the soundtrack and the intro for it are iconic. If you go back and you may not remember, I don't fucking know.
She was a major recurring character in the V miniseries.
Oh, was she? I know the name of that series, but I never watched it.
Was she Diane or Lydia?
V?
Lydia, Diane,
Hey.
which one was she? Jazz? One of those.
I forget who she was. I can look it up. She was Elizabeth Maxwell in the V series, but it was one of the major characters. I just recognized her and I was like, where do I? And that's when I saw that she was from V. So,
all right, go ahead, Sled. What else did you have?
We got Darren Robinson, who's the guy in the VW Bug. That's played by Tony Goldwyn. That's definitely not a Jewish name because I don't recognize him, but maybe he is. I remember him most from Ghost. He was Patrick Swayze's shithead friend, betrayer guy. He has a very.
He was also.
I feel like he has a great. He's been in a bunch. I feel like he's been in stuff because he has such an '80s shit that I'm surprised it didn't play in it longer. He's like a low rent Zapka, fucking the bad guy from Karate Kid. He's got that same look.
He also very recently was a speaker at the DNC. So
wow. By the way, who is it?
He was in that show with the lady who was a big fixer. What was that show? I'll look it up. But
he was in the VW Bug with Nancy McLaughlin, the woman in the Bug with him. Nancy McLaughlin is actually the director, Tom McLaughlin's wife. She was speaking of stage actors. She was very much one, and you can tell when she gets killed. Oh my God, bro! Please give me your money. Very much.
I got 2 more.
So I have one when you're done, if we're taking the time. But you guys,
I don't want to preempt you. You might.
Sled, get them
No,
all
go
out.
for it.
This
It's fine.
So
Sled,
my
Sled,
next
this is
one was Jesse briefly referenced it, but we should address it.
Oh,
Alan
Welcome
Hawes
Back,
is
Kotter,
Tommy
yeah.
Jarvis's friend, played in the beginning. That's played by Ron Palillo. I'm gonna
Palillo.
fucking do a Joel
Broke
here.
my brain
I don't know.
when I saw it.
But
Right.
that's Horseshack from Welcome Back, Kotter. And then finally, Jason was primarily portrayed by C.J. Graham. This movie actually had two Jasons, I guess.
3 Jasons.
Oh, did it have three? Oh,
Yeah, it was.
I'll let
it
you
was-
do that part. But this guy
Okay.
played him for most of it. The only note I had for him is he also plays Hell Cop in Highway to Hell. If y'all have seen that movie, which is like a ridiculous. We should do it sometime.
That's
I know,
amazing.
but yeah. So he was Hell Cop in
So-
Highway to Hell.
I have two more quick notes. So the guy, Tony Goldwyn, the show that he was in that I think most of the listeners will know pretty well, other than Ghost as the bad guy, was Scandal. He was the president in Scandal, which is a pretty popular TV show. But I just like this one personally. The guy who Jason gets the machete from is a gentleman by the name of Wallace Merck. Okay, so
That's
this
the
is
motherfucker's
in
real.
Los
Is that his
Angeles.
real name, or I mean, that's
That's
what
his
he?
actual name, and I'm pronouncing that correctly because it's a pharmaceutical company, right? So I just love this credit. He is in Children of the Corn 2 somewhere. Don't worry about that. But the one that I like is he is in Super Mario Brothers as a Goomba in which is fucking amazing. What a great credit to be one of the Goombas from
Guys,
that crazy
Finally,
thing with
an
John
Italian
Leguizamo.
name that Joel.
I know, really. Of course, it's a pejorative. It's a
It's the only one that
pejorative.
matters.
Right,
It's
it's a
a slur.
pejorative. Right, it's a slur. Right, it's a pejorative. So he knows it. All right, let me close that. Let me close this out, and then we got to get to the main discussion topics here. The other one that we didn't discuss was obviously the shining star of the movie, and frankly, since my wife is gone for the weekend, she's the shining star of my life for the last 36 hours. Nikki, played by Darcy DeMoss. She's the one in the camper banging Court.
Yeah.
Now she was in a movie called Aerobicize, which is where she got her start.
That explains a lot.
You may be familiar with that movie as Axel the coroner in part 4 was the one watching that creepy, basically aerobic porn. She's in that.
That's amazing.
And so I
It's
made that
also how she fucks.
I'll
Like, if you
also-
want-
I mean, I
That's-
remember
exactly.
thinking, looking
She's
like
doing aerobics while she fucks.
guys, that's
I
really-
like.
that's
Oh my god.
that's
Jeez,
for
I mean,
we got to get to that later. We can't do that right now.
What? Do
There's a whole other section to it. Can I
What are
finish
you
her?
doing with your camera?
Who, me?
yeah, we were like.
There's a
looking at the
spider.
bottom of
I'm
your
killing a spider behind it. You're welcome, Joel. All right. So she was also in Reform School Girls. She was in Hard Bodies. She was in Can't Buy Me Love, a fucking classic. And she
Amazing
was in a horror classic called Teen Witch as an uncredited dancer. You may be familiar with that. And she appeared in an episode of Full House. So she had the quintessential 80s acting career for that time period. And also she did not, you'll note that in part 6, actually, there was no nudity. The first and only time in the franchise history, there was no nudity. And they asked
You
her
refused,
to take,
right?
she refused. They asked her to take her top off for that sex scene, and she refused because it wasn't in her contract, and they hadn't approached her about it until she was on set getting ready to shoot the scene. And she was like, "Yo, no, you need to compensate me for that. A and B, you didn't. It's not in my contract."
You know the crazy thing is that's a great sex scene. Like, I
Oh
think,
my God.
Just since
She-
we're
let me
on
tell
it,
you-
like,
let me tell you-
like
let
I'm
me tell you
watching that,
something.
I'm like,
Let me
Jesus, I want to.
she's
It's fun.
bro,
She
you're gonna
looks
have to fight
great,
me.
But she fucks weird.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, man, she can slap me around.
I
Look,
mean,
she's not.
I don't
she's
think
the
I would have
hottest-
lasted. I don't think I would have lasted as long as Court. I know she
Those
was mad at
la-
him for
well,
not
no.
lasting.
Those last 10. Well, he bailed. Those last 10 minutes were gonna kill him. He was ready to roll.
When she was like, "You gotta wait till the end of the song," it's like, "Good luck, ma'am."
Right, she put
Right,
on
that's
like
not happening.
she put on like The End by the Doors. It's like 15 minutes long.
Inagata DeVita, right? Like, yeah.
I have more on Darcy DeMoss later, but that'll be for tidbits and stuff. And let me just tell you,
since you mentioned mentioned her, and her. I mean, there's a theme to her various roles, but I love that at some point she was in 1996. She was in a television series called Erotic Confessions in
Yep.
various roles. For two
Well,
seasons.
that was going to be the tidbits where she
That
actually
sounds
goes.
right,
She
yeah.
goes into softcore porn, but we'll get
Yeah.
to that later. Last thing, and then we'll move into the general
Don't
discussion.
judge her. Don't
I'm
judge
not
her.
sure, bro.
I'm
I'm not.
celebrating her.
Believe me, I am not judging Darcy DeMoss. So it's fucking sexy. I'm just gonna creep everyone out. All right. The last thing, there were 3 Jasons in part 6. The one who played it for the majority of part 6, which is what you'll remember, is a guy named C.J. Graham, who is a former Marine. He looks really like in shape and fit. The guy in the opening sequence, which was that fucking weird throwaway James Bond-ish kind of opening. Right?
I meant to. I was
That-
gonna wait till we
that-
got it,
yeah.
but like that
Well,
was
wait.
actually one of the things I liked was the
Oh,
James
well,
Bond.
That's amazing.
Well, a guy named Christopher Swift plays for the opening credits, but then the paintball scene that we mentioned in brief was played by a guy named Dan Bradley, who was referenced on set not so quietly as bitch tits, because he was not in great shape, and that's why they fucking fired him, and that's why they hired the other guy to play the rest. This squared away Marine. Imagine getting fired as Jason because you. By the way, I categorically disagree. We can roll right into general discussion now. Bang, we're in general discussion.
Sure.
I just made it happen. Why would you let that guy go? He's way more imposing as this big, gruff, like just a big guy. Like the other guy looks like someone who has like 3% body fat. Like, no offense, but like I'm scared of him if we're in an MMA cage match, but like I'm not scared. Like the big. Go ahead, Jess.
I agree. I didn't actually note that they were different actors, but one of the notes I had for part 6, which to me, like a lot of part 6 is almost like a big correction to part 5, and it's like Return of Jason, and we're gonna return the fuck out of him.
Yeah, I mean, you can't
It's
talk
kind of
about
like
part 6 without talking about part 5,
Yeah.
right? Like, so
But they're
I
like,
mean,
we're gonna return the fuck out of this guy, like, and that's kind of like what the producers really wanted. And so much of it though was just like I noted that he's so goddamn athletic, and like the scene where he kills Tony Goldwyn. Like, I'm like, this guy's like fucking a Spartan from the movie 300. The way he's like tossing people around.
Man.
Jason
I
was really
love
meant
that
to be a
and it was
big
very, like,
lumbering guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
man.
Like, it's almost like a Zack Snyder-esque thing where it's like the Jason of part 6 is like the running zombie. You know, he's like the fast,
Which is
athletic.
it's ironic.
Sense,
It's ironic because part 6 is the very first time that Jason just walks. Every other one he runs. When the Jason we all remember canon is the fast walking Jason. It starts in part 6, but yes, he is this guy who looks like 179 pounds soaking wet, you know? And I'm like, I'm not.
that was your impression that he was a skinny guy?
I mean,
I don't know that he was
he's
skinny, but he was very athletic. Like,
fit, yes.
look at his motion.
Fit.
Like,
Yeah.
He moves.
They linger on his ass.
Yeah, he's
There's an
very
actual
precise.
ass shot.
Like,
He's got
they're-
this high
You're talking
ass.
about when
It's
he's
like
walking, when they're like through the woods, and he's like that. It's when the note that I had when they're doing the paintball scene was that the guy running. There were certain things that reminded me that were like 80s scenes. Because there's a scene where they. Oh, you're talking about a different scene. Go ahead.
the paintball scene is the wrong guy.
Hmm.
I almost one of the notes I had from like the way he moved. It, you know, in addition to now he's immortal and all that, which I'm sure we'll get into, but like the way he moved in part 6, it was almost like it's like, are you trying to like specifically evoke Terminator in a way? Like you're muscular, you're very like precise, and just like very angular in his movements, and he's so like fast with his small movements. Yeah, he walks, but like anytime he like stabs you, it's like, you know, it's like really like.
Yeah, it looked
very,
like
like,
someone who
Arnold
actually knew how to
Terminator or
kill
something.
people.
Yeah.
So just step. Do you want to go?
No, I was going to do like a lengthy. I was trying to do a lengthy recap to bring us up to where we are, but I don't know that it's basically one. It turns out that so the whole premise of the entire movie franchise is that this kid drowns in a lake at summer camp, Camp Crystal Lake, because the counselors are fucking. Turns out the mother of his mother, who worked as the cook on site, comes back to avenge his death and kills everyone. And the second one, she gets killed at the end of the first one. And the second one, 20-something-year-old Jason, who previously, as we understood it, was a 12-ish-year-old kid. By the way, he should have been able
And
to
what
fucking
year was
swim
he
at that
supposed to?
point.
It died in like 59, right? Is that when the original thing is supposed to have happened? Is like in the late 50s?
Yes. And then it takes place in 79. So he's 20-ish years old in part 2 to avenge his mother's death now, and then he goes on the kill crazy rampage from there. Part 3, he's killing a bunch of more people in a barn and at a lake house. And part 2, 3, and 4 all take place within like 5 days of each other, right? And then you branch off in part 5 to in part 4, there's a young kid, Tommy Jarvis, who we're going to cover in depth, obviously, in this episode.
By the way, part 5 is the worst.
Oh yeah,
Friday
for
the
sure,
13th.
far
Like,
and away.
of
I think
the,
it's
like,
universally considered the worst.
So Tommy Jarvis, this 12-year-old kid, by the end of part 4, kills Jason, or kills him in air quotes, hacks him to death with a machete. And then part 5 ends up taking place 5 years later. So you get late teenage Jason.
well, Jason's
late
not
teenage
even in
Tommy.
theory in that, right? Like, it's like that's the
He's
only
not
one
in that.
that's, yeah.
No, it turns out to be an imposter, a guy who was 17 or 18-year-old Tommy Jarvis is now fucked in the head in part 5. He's in a halfway house or whatever, a teen facility for fucked up kids. And one of the crazy kids
Kind of
goes
like the
bonkers.
Halloween 3 of the
Yes.
of the Friday
Yeah.
the 13th series.
He
not
hacked one of
as
the
out there, but similar kind
right.
of.
One of the kids there hacks to death another kid there. The father of that kid who gets killed is a paramedic on the scene who turns out to be the one who's going to avenge his death by killing everyone for some reason. Then we go back. We return to the normal shit in part 6. 7 then departs again, right, for a young lady who has like special telekinetic powers. And then you go to 8, you go to Manhattan, where also resetting has nothing to do with 7. And then from that point, it's dead for me, but you guys can discuss. Anyways, so we have what is essentially, and I explained this to Joel before, a giant house built in like the early aughts. And no one has done anything with it officially to tear it down or to build an extension, but everyone is building these tiny annexes off of this house. And by the end of it, 50 years later, this house has no rhyme or reason to it. The stairs go nowhere. The closet doesn't go anywhere. The side room is nothing. That's basically the Friday the 13th franchise, with all of these starts and stops and retcons and kind of weird shit. You just have this big sloppy house that doesn't seem to make sense at all.
Yeah. And that's why you're 100% right? Like I said the other day, but that's kind of why I like it.
Yeah,
right?
me too.
You can tune in whenever you want. Doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
And like, it's entertaining for a little while, and then you go about your day. Right.
Yeah.
And that to me is appealing.
Well,
yeah. And I would,
go ahead, Jess.
I know that you mentioned at the beginning of part 4, they kind of recap the whole series in a sense. But it's been a while since I've seen the first 2, but I saw 3 not too long ago, and there's a little bit of that in all of them, right? Like they do this sort of like little like let's catch you up, either via some
little bit of a recap.
Vignette, recap thing, or in part 4 it's like a full narrative. But that's also one of the things I kind of like liked about the early series. It's like they catch you up on it.
Yeah,
I like that.
Previously on Friday the 13th,
precisely,
right?
and they can just like reinvent bits
Yeah.
that don't fit into the new plot, and that was kind of like endearing for the early portions.
Yeah, well, that was one of the things.
I was going to say that's part of why I mentioned earlier. I was like, if I was going to tell someone watch one movie from Friday the 13th series, it would be part 4. That's probably the one I'd be like, if you want to like watch part 4, like because it's like you don't need to watch 1 through 3 that much if you watch part 4 is what it's like, and which
4
I guess says something about 1
ending.
through 3 that it like that it goes like if they're able to cover it that fast,
right?
But.
Because what people know of it, right, doesn't really comport with part 1. No one really knows.
Right.
If you're not a Friday the 13th aficionado, you don't really know. You don't really know. Is someone dying in your house right now, Sled? You don't really.
I think that's Joel's house.
You don't really know that Jason's not the killer, right? You only know Jason Hockey Mask. Well, Hockey Mask doesn't get introduced to part 3. Jason as the killer doesn't happen until part 2. And like you said, everything is recapped. You basically, the starting point is 4. And it's also technically, from soup to nuts, the best movie as far as being made. You got Savini again on special effects or on effects. So he's doing, he's doing the yeoman's work. I thought the kills were, this is where I disagree with you, Jess. The kills were much bloodier, much gorier, and much more graphic in that. In 6, they start strong. Horshack gets the punch through the chest. But from then on, you have a lot of cutaways. A lot of happens, and then you immediately are off scene. And you're like, well, I guess that happened.
Let's
you
not
know?
preempt our
I'm not-
favorite
I'm not-
kills section.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I would say, like, I think you might be looking at 4 through somewhat rose-colored glasses. I think it's not as gory as you may remember. Like, you know, there's like, you know, the Crispin Glover scene with like the one, huh?
He gets a hatchet diagonally through his face.
Oh, I guess he does get that part at the end, but you know,
That
a
kinda-
lot of them are also cut scenes or just like really gesture things. Like,
Yeah.
one of the twins just gets something in silhouette. The other twins out the window, there's no blood.
Yeah.
The shower guy is like pushed against the shower, very little blood.
Yeah.
The mom, I don't think
And-
you even see what happens. I think there's actually
Jay.
yeah.
Don't forget in 6 that the main cop, the sheriff, gets folded in half. Like,
Fucking great.
Let's save
there's
this for the favorite kills
The
scene.
man became
Okay.
a suitcase.
Well, I was gonna say, I'll argue with you later on that, Jazz. But I mean, I hear you, fair point. But I guess, I mean, this is where we're supposed to be parsing out themes. As it really comes, I don't know that there are any themes.
I would say, you know, I don't know if there was themes, but I think, I mean, the first movie I wrote down that it was almost a love letter to the genre. Like, as far as the way, like for part 4, the way that they made it was there was so much stuff going on it that I thought was very, and that's one of the things I think that people underscore or underrate when Joel, like when we're talking about the ratings for the movie, I think both the movies are underrated to the extent that the amount when I watch them now, having watched a lot of horror movies and being older, like when I watch them now versus when, like, I just thought they were fun when I was a kid. I still think they're fun. But when I go back and watch them now, there's much more intentionality to what's going on in the movies. The production value is really high. Like, I think, like the cinematography and a lot of the stuff that goes on in it compared to like some of these other movies, when we talk about, like, I don't know, The Fucking Burning or what was it, Summer Camp and those hunks of shit that we already watched. Like, the quality of the movies is so much higher. Like, it's like, I think that a lot of those people reviewing them back then when they were watching them, they were looking at it like just very like, oh, is this fucking, you know, I don't know. What were they? I mean, they rated a lot of shitty movies as good in the 90s. Like, I went back and watched fucking Last of the Mohicans, which is after this. I mean, that's in the 90s, but they're the same people would have, that movie's trash. Like, you watch, it's fucking corny as shit.
Man.
It's corny as fuck. Like, I love it. I'm a Daniel Day-Lewis mark. But I'm just saying, like, I think they were watching these movies and they were rating them like they were rating fucking Taxi Driver or something. Like, this is not supposed to be whatever. And I think that they didn't, they missed, like, what they were doing. And that's kind of like the Raiders. Like, they did not see what the people who were making were doing. And I appreciate it. Like, I mean, the James Bond intro. That's a perfect example.
Let Joel. You got to let Joel go. He's been waiting for this.
No. I was just gonna say, I actually more or less agree with you. Like, if you look at 4, in my opinion, is a pretty straight shot, like, horror slasher film, and like really solid. What did you say? Platonic ideal of what that is. I think 6 is actually a little different. It is the first, like, wink and a nod in the series where it is self-aware and, like, the jokes enter in. It becomes actually more like a later Nightmare on Elm Street film where they're very, like, self-aware and they make jokes. And both, in my opinion, are perfectly great. Lots of fun. And of course, the reviewers, they don't give a shit about horror. Horror never wins any wars. Like, it never, it's never really thought of. So I do think both these films really do what they're trying to do very well.
You basically nailed the thing that I was going to say. I think like 4 is the only sort of like additional things that I'll add is like 4. Previously we talked about something else where it almost like someone is like hitting like the marks of what they want a horror movie to be. And so I think like there's one way to look at number 4 where it's like it's the love letter. There's another way to look at number 4, which is like you've lost the beating heart and you're just sort of like just like hitting the steps, or there's a term called cargo culting, which is like you sort of like put on the veneer of something that, and you expect like the same results, even though you're not actually doing like everything that you're supposed to be doing to like get the real results. And that's a little bit of the vibe I got from 4, sort of like in contradiction to some of the rest of you, which was like, it's like, great, let's throw like some pointless teenagers doing frivolous things at it. But it just like, it didn't hit in the way that a lot of the early ones did. And a lot of those things were really drawn out, where like there wasn't enough sort of like kills or action, I thought, to kind of like break up the sort of monotony. On the flip side, I know Jesse loves the sort of like the interior lives of it, so I get why other people might love it, and I might just be wrong. But I agree with you. Just to add, like Joel, like the 6 is definitely like the beginning of we're self-aware, we're kind of winking, we're making jokes. Like there's those little kids who are like, their lives are on the line, but they never take it seriously. And
I
like, one of my
love-
favorite
They should have
quotes
killed
comes
those
from one of
fucking kids. That's my one qualm with 6.
Can I get in
Those
on
kids
this?
should have got fucking murked.
Okay,
For
let
sure.
Jesse go. Let Jesse go.
Well, with regard to one of the earlier eps we did where we paired the burning with Sleepaway Camp, and obviously in Sleepaway Camp they had the balls to kill all the kids. When I thought of that too, Sled, I was like, wow, they didn't want to get that dark in Friday the 13th, which kind of surprised me.
I don't want to kill them all, just those 2, just the 2 boys.
Just the 2, but also with regard to if you remember in the beginning of part 2 for Friday the 13th, which I also went back and rewatched 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. He's sitting around the campfire telling the counselors the story of Jason, and he's doing the whole deal and scaring the shit out of them. And then right at the like climax of his story, another guy jumps out in a mask and like a spear or a knife or something, scares the shit out of all the campers. Where have we seen that before? That was exactly beat for beat played out in The Burning at the beginning. Yeah. Right. And the reason why that was done, if you recall, in that earlier episode, fans go back to the episode for The Burning and Sleepaway Camp.
Talking to.
I'm talking to all of our fans out there. That script was written before Friday the 13th was written. And because of production delays, it didn't come out before Friday the 13th, but they clearly stole it beat for beat. And that bugged me, but all is forgiven because, like you said, we'll just fucking erase everyone's memory and start over in the very next Friday the 13th. I thought 4 for me, I liked it a lot more because it was a little tighter for me. I think the moments with the sheriff and the sheriff's daughter and Tommy being locked up and in and out of jail and them. I know. I'm saying 6.
You said 4.
I'm sorry.
He's
I'm sorry.
contrasting it to 6. He's saying these are the boring parts of 6.
Oh, got it. Sorry.
That part to me was like action movie-ish. I don't know what they were doing there, but it just sort of lost.
But I think that was intentional too. Like I think they both hit the mark. Like I mean, I
what
think
they were trying to
Joel
do.
captured it really well. Like it's like I mean, and Jay thinks that maybe not, but I think they hit the mark on what they were trying to do. I think they did what they were trying. My takeaway is they did what they were trying to do really well. But go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say on 6, I do think, this will be brief, Jesse, but I'll just say like I do think it was very intentional. Whether it was successful can be argued. It was very intentional for it to be very propulsive and action oriented as a movie. So I think that's what they were trying to do.
What did you guys think of? I don't know. I'm just changing gears so quickly because there's just so many things that jumped out at me, which aren't like a thematic thing. But in part 6, the gravedigger Martin.
I love that guy.
So I read,
one of my favorite.
Did you think he was a little bit of a callback? Who do you think he was like a callback to? Like I definitely think that's a. I mean, that's a.
He reminds me of. He reminds
that's an
me
archetypal type character, right? Like that's.
He reminds me of Crazy Ralph, right, from the earlier ones. The guy on the bicycle. who's warning everyone to, don't go up there. Of course he doesn't fucking bother telling anyone why they shouldn't do this. He's just like, don't do it. But the Gravedigger guy I listened to a couple different podcasts, competitors of ours, a really good one, the Horror Virgin.
They're stealing all of our $0.
They're right. The Horror Virgin.
How dare you?
They went through, did like almost all the Friday the 13th. So I was listening to their 4 and 6 recaps, which were pretty good. And they said, and I couldn't really find confirmation on this either way, but that the Martin scenes, the Gravedigger scenes, were cut in after the film later on. And in fact, like, he's actually not in scenes with other people. They just needed another kill. The execs didn't like it, which is also why the paint gun scene was filmed like 3 months apart from the main stuff, because they needed a bunch more kills.
2 of the best ads ever done by executives in the history of film. Right? Like, because executives normally screw things up, but those are both good ads, right? Like, go ahead, Jay. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, even watching the movie, it was, especially the paintball scene, it was excruciatingly clear to me. It was my sort of like hypothesis after watching it that this was an add-on. This was something, hang on, that basically they did some cut, and the producers were like, no, we got to Jason the fuck out of this. Not enough, this is Jason Returns.
100%
Jason the fuck out of it. Yeah. Add more kills, more Jason, more faster, more everything. Can you get?
Didn't they have like 18 kills?
They couldn't get the titties, but they got everything. Yeah.
Hold on, Joel referenced it. I want to give him the stats on this. 18. I think it's 18 right. kills. 18 kills in part 6. By the way, parts 2, 3, and 4, as I said, take place over the course of 5 days. Jason nets 34 bodies in that time. These are, gentlemen, Michael Jordan numbers. Okay, this is a run he is going on, a fucking NBA Finals run.
I have a question, though.
When we triple doubles on every game.
So when you talk, I'm only asking because we're talking about the paintball scene. And because it reminded me of something else I had a note to talk about. Did any of that remind you as somewhat of an homage to maybe First Blood, along with how they portrayed the sheriffs? Because the sheriff
does have the Rambo knife later in that scene.
The sheriff and the deputy reminded, and how they treated Tommy Jarvis reminded me a lot of the First Blood thing. And then when they were doing the paintball thing, it reminded me a lot of like their portrayal of the guys chasing. I mean, they're chasing Rambo in First Blood through the woods, but it's very much like these fucking weekend warrior jerk-offs, and it's like, I don't know, both of them struck me. I mean, the sheriff's thing struck me first, but then when they did the paintball scene, I was like, oh, this also reminds me of the National Guard guys when they get Rambo like cornered. I don't know, because there was another 80s thing that are like reminding me of it. Just like, oh, I wonder if this was intentional.
Well, Sled, I took that same note, and the way that Sheriff Garris in part 6 says, you know what, I'm not going to wait for these people to come pick you up or whatever fucking halfway house you broke out of. I'm going to drive you to the edge of town, and then you're gone. It is, again, beat for beat what John Rambo had done to him by Brian Denny.
Yeah, and he drops him off, and he's got the shithead, like, deputy guy who's, like, Galt
trigger happy,
or whatever, who's like
happy.
And that's the other guy with the wherever the red dot goes fucking guy. Like, I don't know.
Wait. Last thing, and then Joel, I'll let you talk. The Rambo knife, the replica of the Rambo knife he gets it off of one of those weekend warriors at the paintball retreat, and uses it to stab Court in the head later on in the RV.
Nice.
So yeah, it's exactly like that. Sorry, Joel, go ahead.
So sorry, Jay, real quick. One of my favorite scenes in it, in 6, which has like no part of Jason, is when what's Tom's character's name? Jesus Christ. Charges into the sheriff's office, and the sheriff wakes up and pulls his gun and aims at his forehead. I was like, that is the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
that one's really
it's just amazing. I just wake up from sleep and pull my gun, and I'm going to murder people.
I laughed at Tommy Jarvis went to the fucking cops after he just woke up a fucking revenant with lightning. He's like, I'm going to go get the police. It's like, motherfucker, I'm going to leave this town forever.
The other thing that the paintball scene reminded me of, and I think maybe only Jesse has seen this other movie, but the complete ridiculousness of Jason's like dropping from random trees and popping up out of random like piles of leaves and shit. There's a movie called Deadly Prey, which is one of the
I've
most
seen
ridiculous. That. Yeah, okay. It is a completely
it's been a
ridiculous
long
80s
time,
action
but...
movies. And it reminds me of that movie just like because it's the same thing. Like this person like teleports from place to place, jumps out of random things, kills people who should not be killed in various situations. And the Rambo thing is a much better analogy, but it reminded me of Deadly Prey a lot.
Also,
well,
Sled,
Jess, oh, go ahead.
Sled, you referenced the lightning, which I actually thought if there is any, it's not a theme, but it's, I don't know, a leitmotif. I don't know if we want to go back to English, but there's the use of lightning to revive Jason, right? Which is kind
the
of
Frankenstein thing.
It's the Frankenstein reference.
Well, that wasn't accidental. That was intentional.
Right. Sure, right. The recurrence of lightning representing like scientific discovery, enlightenment, what's gone wrong, what Victor Frankenstein has done, how he's fucked his life up.
Well, I because I read on stuff. Let me. So when Megan asks Tommy where it is, and goes to pick where he is, and goes to pick him up, he says Karloff's General something. Boris Karloff is the original Frankenstein,
which was amazing. I caught that too.
So Teenage Frankenstein by Alice Cooper is playing on the fucking radio during the RV scene when like that, which is a great kill. But writer and director Tom McLaughlin explicitly wanted to go in a Frankenstein direction, is what I read.
Well, yeah, and he started, and he's please, Jazz, you were gonna say something.
No, that was it. I wanted to do the Deadly Prey thing. That was my main thing on that one. Yeah.
So I want to say really quick. I had a moment last night. I was watching 6, and I sat I might have had a couple of drinks. I sat my son down.
Which one? You have 17 kids, bro.
Okay, I sat my oldest son down.
There you go.
Son, whichever one you are, I want you to know that this is something that I've lived my life by. It's advice I got from Friday the 13th Part 6. It's never stab a corpse with a lightning rod in the middle of a storm. Never do it. And guess what? I haven't done it. Never fought a zombie. Worked out pretty well.
That felt like a Norm Macdonald joke.
Yeah. If all right, look. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and move on. Move on to our favorite kill, our favorite scene here. Since we're all over the place, I'll go ahead and lead off, and we can jump in as needed. For me, part 4, and I think Jazz, you referenced it. When we were talking about what has more gore for the kills, 4 or 6, this doesn't have the gore, and that's what you were underscoring, but it actually turned out to be my favorite kill. It was Jason on the outside. So the two, the Spearmint girls, the 2 British twins, one of them, Terry or Tina, I can't remember, after she finishes having sex with Crispin Glover, with Jimbo, he goes downstairs to brag to Teddy Bear, and she's like hanging out in the room, and she's sort of looking outside. It's pouring down rain. Her sister's bike is still there, even though her sister was supposed to have left a while ago. And Jason comes, he's like on the ledge outside the house on the 2nd floor of the fucking house.
The trellis.
Yeah, the trellis, pulls her, breaks through the window, pulls her out, fucking throws her down to her death. It was a jump scare, and it got me. Now, was I scared throughout the movie? No, but that was one that I'd forgotten about that had me
Jason's a jungle cat.
And also Jason crushing Doug's eyes or skull when he's in the shower. The poor man's Rob Lowe. And then in part 6, of course, I already said it, Horseshack, when Owen Jason punches through his fucking weak ass chest. Those are my 2 favorites. What do you guys got?
On part 4, I'll just go. I didn't have like a ton of kills. Like Sled, I really liked the hitchhiker kill. Just because I think it was like the only like purely random kill in the movie compared to like part 6, which was almost all random kills. So like the hitchhiker kill I thought was one of those
I just
where
love how
Rosa was great.
they focus on the like turd banana squirt out of her hand. Like
It's
it looks
pretty
like
And her
it
mouth,
literally,
she like
it
spits it
literally
out.
looks like a piece of shit. Like it's just like it's awful.
And the other one from part 4 that was good, and I don't know, I know we're not doing favorite quotes yet, but it does overlap with that, so I'll just toss this one in for my one of my part 4 favorite quotes. And I know there's a story behind the quote that maybe we'll get into, but Rob's death, when he goes back down to the basement to retrieve the pointless knife that he was going to use to fight Jason.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole the quote is the reason his death is great, but he's killing me over and over again. There's a whole story behind it, and I know, and I'll let Jesse tell it if he's got it. But that death, and also just the fact that he was set up as almost this sort of like confrontational character with Jason Voorhees, and he went out like the biggest pussy loser in like the whole set of kills in some ways. I thought was great, but he's killing me over and over just like makes me laugh so hard every time I see the movie.
The crazy thing is, Jazz, I might feel like you, except that I watched I have like, I get in these rabbit holes. Remember there was a guy, Timothy Treadwell, who was not a hitchhiker. He was a weird guy who hung out in Alaska with the grizzly bears. There's a whole documentary done on him by Warner, help me out.
Werner Herzog.
Yeah.
It's called Grizzly Man.
Thank you, Sled. So when he eventually actually gets killed by the grizzly bears that he's been going to see for 10 years.
That guy so had it coming. You don't even want to get me on a fucking
shocker.
rabbit hole of ecology and
guys,
that guy being an idiot. Don't mention him. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
There's an actual audio of him when he's getting killed by a grizzly bear. Jazz, do you know what he says? Because he has his girlfriend in the tent, 30 yards away.
She's like whooping it with a frying pan or something.
No, she's like telling him, like, you have a frying pan out there, hit him with the frying pan. Anyways, he's yelling, he's crying basically just like fucking Rob. I'm getting killed out here. His voice is cracking. I'm getting killed out here. It's so fucking haunting to me that it was like traumatic for me to listen to Rob say that.
Not even the story of the quote from the movie though.
No, well, for one, I was going to say thank you for having faith in me to have that. I don't, of course, have that, so you'll have to tell me that. But I was literally like, it upset me to hear Rob say that. Go ahead.
I know where the quote or where
okay,
it
you
comes
do it,
from.
Joel.
Well, I'll see if I can do it justice. But there's like a famous case. I think it was in Manhattan.
Yeah,
is that right? Where like I think it was a woman was getting assaulted, and like everyone kept walking past her.
Kitty Genovese?
Right?
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah. Wait, what?
That's and so.
Joel, can you pronounce Genovese?
Yeah. It's Guido. Guido. What do we say? No.
Giovanna Visa.
Giovanna Vasa. But anyways, people keep walking past, and it's where you get some of these, or at least it's one of the cases that led to like the Good Samaritan laws and things like that. And so the director actually put that in the script in like, not tribute, but kind of like it was in his mind when he was putting it in.
All right, favorite kills.
He expected it to be taken seriously, and then in the screenings, like he found that it backfired because the audiences like laughed a lot at that scene, and so yeah.
Because it's because more people are like the cast of Seinfeld than not, right? Like, but anyway,
right.
I just think the delivery was ridiculous. That's
yeah. I agree with you. He was definitely Sled. Joel, we got favorite kills, favorite scenes before we move on.
You go ahead.
Oh wait,
Sled.
let me do part 6.
Oh, sorry, Jess. Sorry, Jess.
So my part 6. Well, first I'll say Court is the saddest kill because he was my favorite character in the movie. I think like the best actor, best character.
I love when he tells the racist Native American stories.
You know who he reminded me of?
That shit was fascinating.
Yeah,
Jesus, can we talk about that scene? I took notes.
I think he's just supposed to be a fucking goober. I mean, what were your notes? I want to fucking hear them. Let's do it.
The degree, the
Jazz, go
absolute aplomb and confidence that he delivered that Native American story with.
Yeah.
It was
It's
like,
yeah,
in case
he's
the
just
wife
making
comes
it up.
along,
I had what was my fucking?
You
'cause I
knock
got a
down the
note.
rocks in case the wife comes along, so she doesn't know where she's
I
going.
got a note written
what do you-
on him. What the
I
fuck
love
is
that scene?
I got a note. I said, guy who plays Court reminds me of Patrick Dempsey, like low rent Patrick Dempsey from Loverboy. Like, you remember fucking Loverboy?
Oh, I
Like
know
that
it.
fucking
course,
the
of
pizza.
course, yeah.
That's who he reminded me of. And then like, what the fuck else did I say?
Tom Fridley. His name's
Yeah,
Tom
but
Fridley.
that's who he reminded me of. But yeah, like
Yeah.
We
It's like Patrick Dempsey channeling the
We need to
confidence of
talk-
Donald Trump spouting
we need
bullshit.
to
But
talk
anyway,
more
the
about.
kill-
Go ahead.
The kill that I think is my favorite kill is the Wallace or whatever that guy Merc, the paintball guy, and it's just like the briefest thing. It's like they set up this whole little scenario where the female executive like gets him in the paintball game and he's all mad, and then they show the machete thing and he just goes on this misogynistic tirade of just sort of like, that dumb broad, she tricked me. Should have stayed in the kitchen. Women shouldn't be allowed to play this game. This is life, not a game. And then immediately gets killed by Jason he like flings him 40 feet into a tree where he gets slammed into the tree trunk. He falls away. There's a perfect cutout of a smiley face.
Yeah.
It to me like that is
and
why
Jason's holding
part
onto
6
his arm, right?
Yeah, and
Like-
he's holding
like,
on to
yeah,
his
like-
severed arm. Yeah.
and that to me is why part 6 is just like so much fun. It's just like so
There's
over
so
the top,
many-
and they're just like, we're gonna Jason the fuck out of this movie. And to me, like that's the scene that was just like that did that. So that killed. Yeah.
Sled, what do you got?
I don't know. Joel was already going. Did you already go? Do you want to wait?
Yeah, you go ahead. I was just
All right,
mostly
all right.
laughing.
So part 4, my favorite one was actually Jesse already hit it. I think the scene where he I didn't see it as a jump scare. I just thought it was such a great scene when he like fucking chunks the chick out of the window and like, I don't know, the fall onto the car reminded me a little bit of like Lethal Weapon. I mean, Lethal
It
Weapon
looked.
came after
I
this, but like
had
the
the
way she
exact
like,
same
fell,
reaction.
Like,
Well, there's a little
so good.
there's an
But,
error in there where the you can see the dummy because when it hits the roof of the car, the shirt or dress comes up and it's like not anatomically correct. There's like nothing that it's like a Barbie. So,
But they kind of
I thought
replicated
it
it
was
with the
really good,
sister
though.
too a little bit when she falls off the thing and lands in the mud, which she looked fucking great laying in that mud, by the way.
Oh my
But so
God.
that was my
you were
favorite.
into the twins,
No,
dude. She's no Darcy DeMott. She's no Nikki. I can tell
This
you
is
that.
part. Well, I'm talking about part 4. I'm not to part 6 yet. So part 6, my favorite killing, I think, is the sheriff. Like, because the sheriff's been like,
Tough,
I
man.
give the sheriff a lot of credit. Like he tried to go toe to toe with Jason for a while. Like he fucking
Yep.
like blasts him with the shotgun. Then he goes with then he pulls out
Revolver.
the 38 special, and then he just goes
Yep.
hands on and tries to like do it and gets folded.
I
Like
counted
Joel
it up.
mentioned, gets folded in fucking half. And when I look back at Jason 6 or Friday 13 part 6, the thing I loved about it was like, I'm always just like, Jason, this is the first one where Jason just like started, it's like, we're going to fucking, it's like, well, it's the same reason why I like Superman Zack Snyder. Like we've talked about,
Right.
just like, I want to see Jason just murking motherfuckers. And so the 6 really hits the sweet spot on that to where he's just like, he's fucking Superman. He just like, in like one of the scenes that I like noticed with that, it was like 4 in the very end when she's like chopping out of the machete, Jason's like fucking like he's leaning
Worrying
back, like
about the
trying not to,
machete,
and he like
yeah.
cuts his hand and he's like, ah, and it's like 6, there's none of that. He's like, I'm gonna fuck you up. Like they fucking try the car scene in the beginning. He's just like waiting there and like fucking like, yeah, just so like I mean but that's probably my favorite kill. But I love 6 just because it's like this is like Jason's just fucking tearing shit up. Like he's just like he's out there, just a badass motherfucker. So yeah.
Joel, go ahead.
All right. So for 4, I'll give Corey Feldman's like kill and what is it like the sisters assist of Jason in 4. I love that because that stuck with me. I remembered how upsetting it was seeing Feldman's hair like sheared off him like a fucking sheep, and like, you know, he was hacking at him after he was dead and the whole thing. Like, I love that scene. I think it's actually legitimately scary. And then 6, I have the exact same one as Sled. I love when the sheriff dies. He gets folded in half. The sheriff is going to Valhalla, right? Like he put 6. He put 3. I counted it up. 3 shotgun rounds, 6 slugs, right, from his revolver, and then hit him with a log, and then tried to beat him with his fists. And of course, then got folded in half. But still, pretty impressive.
Sheriff's a good dude all around. Like he could have easily done Tommy much worse than he did.
I would be remiss.
Yeah.
I would be remiss to not acknowledge Horseshack though, for being
that one's great.
a completely dumb fuck who like decides he's gonna run up and try and hit Jason with the shovel after he just crawled out of a fucking grave, like getting hit by lightning. Like that's how he gets killed, right? Like he left. He was safe. He could have just left. And then he runs up because he's fighting Tommy and tries to hit him in the back of the head with the shovel. Like that was going to end it. So he deserved that punch to the chest. He had no one to blame but himself.
Well, he also had Tommy to blame. Paul's got.
Well,
I mean,
Tommy's a fucking jerk. Tommy caused all these goddamn problems. Tommy could have let Jason die. Jason was fucking dead. But Tommy fucked it up.
That's why I gave my son.
Tommy's the real villain. Holy shit! I think Tommy's the real fucking villain. He's the original evil of every movie after 6.
Well, what was the guy's name?
Tommy
Jesse,
Jarvis is like the Uranus
name?
behind Zeus and Kronos and whoever. Like he invented the Earth and created this evil demon that now stalks it.
Did you just
in
make
Jason.
a connection between Friday the 13th and Greek mythology?
It may have been. I might have mixed some Roman in too. I don't know if I'm that clear. But.
All right, so we're moving on to best lines or quotes for this. I'm going to kick it off. You can do part 4, part 6. If you only have one, that's fine. If you have a dozen, let's go ahead and hear them. This is one that I think probably fly under the radar. I think we'll probably have a lot of overlapping ones. I won't read all mine off the top, but this one was like low-key funny in part 4. The ambulance driver pulls up. It's in the very beginning, which takes place, 20 minutes after the end of part 3 when all the bodies are in the barn and right at the end of part 3. The ambulance driver pulls up and it's just like the officer on the scene is like, or they ask like where the bodies are. He's like, they're in the barn. How many, and he gives them the number and he's like, well, they're all dead. They're all deceased. And the ambulance driver is just like, all dead, some emergency. And then they just fucking like cruise in there. I'm like, are you serious? This is how fucking.
Did you notice that in that scene, that ambulance is fucking Echo 1 from the Ghostbusters? Like it's the exact same model of ambulance. Like I loved it.
So another one is from Nurse Morgan in part 4, who is who starts to bang Axel, the coroner. Axel, you are the Super Bowl of self-abuse. Honestly, I'm going to throw it to you guys. What does she mean?
No idea, but I really wanted her.
She was hot. She is no Darcy DeMoss. She's no Nikki.
No, but I'm going to interpret it as like basically like he's the big game. Like basically she's the one going to the big game to like receive the self-abuse. Or like she's self-abusing herself is what I'm by going to him. She made it to the Super Bowl of him. I don't know.
Another one is from Tommy Jarvis, 12-year-old Tommy Jarvis. So there's a scene in part 4. Part 6 again has no nudity. By the way, also was the worst grossing movie of any in the franchise. So you make the connection there. But in part 3, they're at the lake and they decide Teddy Bear and the Spearman twins and everyone decides they're going to go skinny dipping off the rope swing and jump in there. Some absolutely just wonderful mid-80s naked shots there. I said naked shots. I couldn't go like X-rated with that. And really self-censoring here. And so anyways, Tommy like happens upon it. And of course his little fucking hornball, which we'll get into later also. And his sister, Trish, his older sister's like, we're out of here, throws him back in the station wagon. They drive back to the house and he goes, some pack of patootsies, huh? What the fuck what is patootsies? What is he talking about?
I don't know. I like when he's like, "Let's get out of here. We're too young for this." I mean,
Yeah.
The dog.
Yeah.
You fucking bitch. Jason should have killed that fucking kid too, for sure.
Thank you. One more. Even though I have a lot, and I know the rest of you guys are probably overload, but he goes in part 6. Deputy Rick Cologne, the one who we've referenced, not directly yet, but Rick Cologne, by the way, is definitely an alias I'll be using at some point in my life. He goes Cologne, like deputy.
Like it's spelled like that too, like not like.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah.
It's Cologne.
Kalagany. It must be Greek.
It sounds like a good Irish name. It's got that little enya in it.
So he's about to back Tommy into the jail cell there, and he feels the need to pull his pistol with like the laser sight on it, which definitely isn't regulation. And he's like, "Wherever the red dot goes, you bang."
Yeah, that's a really good one.
You bang. All right, go ahead. Whoever's got any, let's hear them.
I have one that I don't know if it made an impression on anyone else, but I laugh every time I hear it from part 4. So Jimbo's just finished with one of the twins, is downstairs trying to get the wine. He's in the kitchen, and he calls out. He says, and it's just the delivery of it that's so perfect from Crispin Glover. But he's like, "Hey Ted, where's that corkscrew? That fancy corkscrew for the wine bottle, Ted?" And the pauses and everything are like so perfect.
It does not end well.
And the
and then they all get fucking killed, right?
The fact that he's the one that he dies immediately after that is perfect. Yeah. But just like they put that, someone wrote that. Put that scene in.
I love it.
Crispin thought about that delivery.
Look, man,
delivered that.
I guarantee someone writing it was thinking they had some asshole at their fucking house when they were writing it. They were like looking for. It's probably his fucking wife. Looking for like some corkscrew that they just bought at fucking Williams Sonoma, and he's like, "I'm gonna put this in this goddamn movie."
Crispin Glover.
He didn't want to buy it. It cost a lot of money, and like it doesn't work any better than the regular corkscrew. It's like 10 more steps.
Crispin Glover is the Michael Sled of movies and acting, and he's like, for the famous dance scene, of course.
Why is he me? That dude is fucking weird as shit.
I'm still
not like it's a bad comparison, obviously.
So when they asked him to dance for that scene, which we all know the crazy dance that he does.
Oh, I know this one.
I mean, they just told him go dance, and he literally was like, okay, and does the absolute like Elaine Bennis seizure.
Do you know the story behind this? That is,
as far as I know, that's the story.
That's legitimately, he said, what he would do when he would go out to clubs, and he was dancing to like what was playing at the time was AC/DC's Back in Black.
Yep.
That's him dancing to AC/DC's. Like listen to that song and watch that.
In Crispin Glover's defense, if I was at a party and we were fucking doing that and that dude started dancing like that, I'd be like, this dude's fun.
Yeah,
I would have been making fun, like everybody else at the party is making fun of him in that setting. Like I would have been the guy, like, all right, this fucking dude's ready to rock.
It's cool. I like it.
Party.
Well, so Joel,
already ahead of the game on pickup culture. He was already peacocking, doing the whole.
Yeah, he was. He was wild.
Joel, so if you have. Well, hold on. If you have that story, Joel, why? And I knew that AC/DC was the original song, and I knew they basically ad-libbed that. But why did they then dump the Back in Black and put in "Love Is a Lie" by Lion?
Love Is a Lie. My guess is it was a hell of a lot cheaper to get that song than AC/DC's Back in Black, because the rights to buy song are cheap or expensive, and like they're trying to keep that budget as low as possible because they don't know what this is going to gross.
Yeah,
right.
Fucking all I know is Jazz. I'm gonna let you finish up here. Crispin Glover is a fucking pimp. That dude is awesome.
He's
amazing. He's absolutely amazing.
Go ahead, Jazz.
So then other quotes from part 6, I have, of course, I already mentioned the whole like Wallace dumb broad thing, which I thought was like a ton of fun. And then I like the Martin quote where he's like, they think Martin can't do this job. He's like, hell, I'm a damn high school graduate. I deserve this job. I earned it. What I thought was a really good one. And then the one with the two boys with the meta comedy where they're hiding under the bed. They're talking about, well, we're dead meat. And the other one goes, so what were you going to be when you grow up?
That was mine, Jay. I love that line. That cracked me up.
And then to do that at that time, like that meta thing, it was just like, and then all the movies after that sort of like, copy that, to our earlier conversation.
Well, yeah, to that end, part 6 breaks the fourth wall. I mean, the Gravedigger Marty, he turns straight to you and he goes, what kind of a sicko would get off on that, or whatever he says, right? He's talking right directly to us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right down the lens. Yeah.
Your Deadpool sucks.
Well, I got a good Martin the Gravedigger quote. Dig him up. Does he think I'm a fart head? He says.
Fart head. Fascinating insult, right? Yeah. Like I never heard that in my life.
I actually hate that scene. It's so the insult's so bad that it's like
Sled,
let me down.
Sled, what do you got quote wise? Anything?
Quote wise, for 4, my favorite quote is actually like, and it's like the awkwardness of the scene is so it's Crispin Glover doing it again, is when they do the skinny dipping stuff and he's like, we don't have any trunks or whatever he says. Like, I don't know if it's and I didn't memorize the quote because it's not so much the quote, it's the delivery and the ambiance and like what's actually going on. It's just like, and it's intent. Like, I feel like that, like, oh, it's so well done. Like, it's just like Jesus, this fucking guy. Like, you feel so bad. Like the whole movie while he's alive, at least, is him not trying to be a lame fuck or whatever the fuck he's like obsessed with. And it's
dead fuck.
Dead fuck.
Yeah, dead fuck. Am I a dead fuck? That's what he asked her right after they fucked. And she seemed to like it. But like, yeah, that scene, I was just, I think I hate him for it because maybe I would have done the same thing in high school. Like, definitely in high school. Like, if there's some people have been skinny dipping in high school, I would have, like, it would have made me uncomfortable. I would have made an excuse not to do it. I don't know.
He eventually did it though, right?
Yeah, I know he did. And that's a bit, I love that quote. Number 6, favorite quote. Obviously, I have the one with the fucking wherever the red dot bang, whatever the fuck it is. But I really like Horseshack in the beginning where he's basically like, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to paraphrase here, where he's just like, let's get the fuck out of here. Like, when stuff is going down.
You're going to give me a heart attack.
Yeah, my heart can't take anymore.
My heart can't take this,
Mr. Carter. Mr.
And his instincts are good, and then he came back to try and save his buddy and got fucking mollywopped. But yeah, like
he went out hard. He hit Jason hard with that.
Let me ask you this.
He came in hard for his buddy. That was a ride or die motherfucker. I guarantee you, any of you assholes, if a dude rises up out of the fucking grave after the lightning, I'm getting the fuck out of there. If you can run faster than me, awesome, but I'm not waiting behind because we just woke up the fucking devil. I'm not coming back to hit him with the fucking shovel. Like,
let me ask you this: Do you think Jason? I know he's like expressly supernatural in this one. In 6, it's the first time that we really see that. We understand that he's the undead, but this is when he's. How many concussions do you think he has? I assume he has CTE, right? He's getting smashed with every fucking thing.
One of the questions
that explains most of the movie is that he has CTE.
Yeah. Right? Well, and I think his powers were supposed to be rising. That was one of my impressions through the movies. Is like his powers, like when he first gets up, he's kind of still whatever, and like he gets more powerful as the movie goes on. Right. One of the things that bothered me is he still had human eyes. The eyes still got like fucking like he had like hazel eyes. Like he was like.
Did you notice the eyes change color during the movie?
Yeah.
I did not notice that.
Joel, do you know, or Jazz, you know why they change color?
Different actors.
Yeah, that's it. They didn't write
shit,
anything.
yeah,
Different actors.
This is one of those things where we make up lore. Like
Joe,
we've
right?
done
Yeah.
before.
No. Yeah, we
Yeah, it's
retcon
like
that.
Alien.
There's
The alien looks different in this one because it
there's a
something,
theory,
something.
Joel. That's like me and Joel when we used to watch Evil
Yeah,
Dead. The blood was different colors. We thought no, they just ran out of the coloring.
They ran out of red.
Right. So there was actually a theory. There's a lot of different theories. I'm on like the message boards for Friday the 13th. It's like there's a theory that it's sort of like Bonnie and Clyde, that Jason and his mom are actually tandem killers, and that he never actually died as a kid. But anyways, let me get into the last of the quotes.
Did Joel do his favorite quotes?
I'm gonna give it to him, but I wanted to get
Okay.
2 more in, and then Joel, you close out. And we'll move on. Okay.
Let me do. I actually don't have any because Jay got mine. It was the boys being like, what did you want to be when you grew up? Like, I love that. But go ahead.
I actually fucking hated that, but whatever. So Sheriff Garris in part 6, when he's like, he's just had enough of Tommy Jarvis fucking around. He's already tried to take him to city limits. You can't deal with this anymore. All the trouble you've given me, you should be leaving here wearing your balls as earrings.
Yeah, I have that one too.
Which I really like that. And then my last one, which is Jazz, it's your boy Court, who I also liked. When he's driving the after he fucks Nikki, God, fucking.
I
Darcy.
think Nikki fucked him.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
He
That's absolutely.
He was mostly an apparatus. Yeah.
He was just there.
Props
Darcy
to Nikki, by the way. I wish Nikki would fuck me. I mean,
is that? I don't want to digress from my quote here, but is
Yeah,
of all the women in both 4 and 6, that's what you guys are going with? Is Darcy DeMoss? You're going with Nikki?
I don't know. I already mentioned.
I'm talking to
Joan Freeman, Miss Jarvis.
You only get one, Sled.
Sled,
you only get one.
and Joe. But I'm bringing Poltergeist. Her and Joe Beth. And
Okay,
you know
well,
what? Part four was
I
filmed
really
in California.
dug the nurse.
The nurse.
The
Okay,
nurse
I can tell
from-
that. I got you.
Yeah, I
hear you.
Jazz.
I'm Team Nikki all the way.
Wow, fuck, man. I thought I was going to be unique. Okay. Anyway, so she
Then I'm walking off with my girl. You guys do your thing.
I think Nikki would be happy if we were both involved.
That's fine.
Probably
Devil's
be
Triangle.
disappointed,
All right, let's go.
just like she was with Court.
All right, can we? No one can satisfy. No one can
No
say that. Are you kidding me?
one is making it to the end of that song. That's
no,
a fact.
but
You said it so, Jesse. You said it so earnestly. No one can satisfy her.
No one can satisfy.
And
You know
then
what? But
Jason presses her fucking face into the wall, which is actually reminding me of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Like,
but you know what? That
Yeah.
wouldn't stop me from trying. Okay, I lost plenty of fights. I've done plenty of shit wrong. I'm still going to give it the old college try. All right, let me get into it. So Court takes the wheel. They're going to drive out of there. He of course hits the gas so hard she goes flying backwards in there. And there's a lot of noise happening. Of course, she gets yanked into the bathroom by Jason, and she's getting murdered. And he's too busy listening, rocking out to Alice Cooper, and just being absolutely fun-dangled at the idea of driving an RV, which he thinks is wonderful. I believe he actually says this is so fun at some point. But the quote that I was going to get, he says, "What are you doing back there? Taking a dump?" And then, which is funny in and of itself. But then his follow-up lines to it are, "Mind if I come back and snatch a peek?" And then he says, "Or vice versa? I'm having such a good time." End quote. So I think that
we lost him too soon.
We lost him too soon. R.I.P. Pour one out for the big homie. Pour one out for the big homie. All right, we're
that
moving.
premature ejaculation.
All right, so this one, we're going to end up at trivia and tidbits, which usually, because of me, takes way too fucking long, and then we're going to try and speed this thing up. So I'm going to let anyone else start before I dominate the fucking thing.
I have one more quote.
Okay.
We can start this section off with it, but when they're going to take the turn with Tommy and Megan, she says it right when his face falls in her lap. Right? And she's like, "Oh, I like that, right?" Like, so that's the thing. But then when they go around, she says it's going to be a hairy turn.
Yes. Oh my God. I thought I literally in my head was like, is that on purpose? I was like, wow, wow.
So that's it.
All right. I just want to give one more. Well, I mean, I could talk about her the whole time, but I just want my Darcy DeMoss tidbits, and then, and then you guys have no idea. I've been crushing on her since like fucking Can't Buy Me Love, for real. Okay, so let's see. I already talked about how she refused to. I mean, Tom McLaughlin approached her about being naked.
That's why
and she
Dre's
refused.
not at home. You just been like fucking beating off all week to fucking
Dude, bro.
Bro,
I wish you were
everybody
joking.
out of the house.
I
Kids are
wish you were-
relegated to upstairs.
So she'd actually, it's because she's got class. Okay, here everything's on her terms. So she actually previously auditioned for Friday the 13th: A New Beginning, right, in 1985, but she allegedly backed out of the project when the director Danny Steinman requested that she show her breast during the interview. So she was like, no, like fuck that. Why do I need to do that for the interview? He tried to pull some janky shit on her. Let's see. She went on to be, after refusing Tom McLaughlin being naked in part 6, she refused, and then she went on to perform fully nude in like a ton of erotic thrillers after that, which you referenced already.
You referenced. Who else referenced it?
You referenced the actual, or Jazz, was that you?
The TV series Erotic Confessions. Yeah.
That's what it was.
Are you going to post links on Instagram?
I'll post them to you guys.
At least some IMDb links. I mean, so people could like research it to know more about the movie.
Something about her. Look, all right, fuck it. We'll just go up. Look, something about her. It's the Joel knows this about me. All my fucking psycho shit. She is like there's something. She's just imperfect enough to convince yourself that she's attainable. Whether her nose is perhaps a little big, the frizzed out hair, her body isn't ideal. The poor young lady had breast implants. Breast implants.
That dude like a fucking animal. Like I don't know if it's how she looks necessarily.
Maybe it's that she's Italian. I don't know. I mean, and
she's like rocking out, fucking doing go-go shit. I mean, yeah,
dude. I don't know. There's a lot going on, but she was hot.
Is she Italian?
I'm just looking. Well, from the name and the
Moss.
Yeah.
It sounds like an Italian name. I don't know. I mean, I don't think.
I
couldn't pronounce it, so let's assume she's Italian.
She's ethnic. I don't want to. She's not quite white, right?
Dude, hot enough for. Oh, if we're gonna talk about,
I can pronounce your name just fine, Michael.
So speaking of that, Sled, I was gonna let it go to other tidbits, and I don't even have a tidbit on this so much, but who plays Sissy? Renee Jones. You know her? You know Sissy from Part 6? She was the black young lady who had the sweats and the cutoff shirt on. She was she got her head ripped off.
Yeah, she was real cute. Yeah,
she won a bunch of NAACP awards or something for something or other on like daytime soap.
She got her head fully spun around by Jason. And then ended up in someone's lap or something.
Well, it came
car.
It came out of the car.
Oh, in the car. That's right, Jay.
Yeah,
all right, someone give me some tidbits before I fucking start reading tidbits for the next 10 minutes.
On it, feller.
All right,
you can keep going for now.
All right, Jazz is going to tell me what. Okay, so for part 4, there was actually some continuity issues. In part 3, Jason's nails are really neat and trimmed. In part 4, they're like black and unkempt and long and all fucked up. Let's see, I already said this, but the movie playing in the coroner's office in part 4 that Axel's sort of kind of getting off to is Aerobicide from 1980, which I said Darcy DeMoss was in, our lovely Darcy DeMoss. Joseph, how do you pronounce that? Zaitu. He previously directed The Prowler, which is another classic. And they wanted him to both direct and write part 4, but he said, I'm not a writer, to which they said, basically doubled his contract. And then he said, quote, yeah, I'm totally a writer. So he used the extra salary to hire another guy named Barney Cohen to discreetly write the script for him.
Is that like a ghost writer?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a joke.
So let's crunch the numbers here on Pam Voorhees, Jason's mom. She's approximately 49 years old according to the gravestone, but when she
49
died,
when in 79 or
right. So
I read this too, Jess.
Right, so the gravestone said from 1930 to 79. Actually, it should have said to 80, but they actually put the filming date instead of when the movie was released.
Right.
Yeah. So if you're wondering why an 11 or 12-year-old boy like Corey Feldman could fix a fucking broken down car, originally, rather than like being into like making horror masks and stuff like that, which was also an homage to Tom Savini in addition to his name. He was originally in the original script was supposed to have been an inventor. So one of his projects was a device made from a microwave oven, which would have been used to kill Jason originally. And some of this is seen in the final product because they cut that and changed it. But he's helping start the car, right?
Smart fucking move.
Let's see. I say due to declining interest in slasher films, the final chapter was initially conceived as a prequel featuring Pam Voorhees in a custody battle with her ex-husband for their son Jason. The first draft of the script was 160 pages long,
I gotta write that.
That's insane.
But was ultimately deemed too dark by the producers to fit under the Friday the 13th banner.
Now that would be a film, not a movie, a film.
In parts,
someone needs to make that shit.
Now here you go, Joel. I think you got to this in your segment, part 6. We're moving on to about how they had several different characters playing Tommy Jarvis from 4 to 6. So John Shepard, who played Tommy in part 5, which we said was pretty shitty, he was actually tapped to play him again in part 6 for some continuity. But he, in that time, in the interim, had become a born-again Christian, and he refused to reprise the role. So they had to pass on him, enter Tom Matthews for part 6.
Sorry.
Yeah, please.
I was going to say, my understanding was he was interested because they had the scene where the little girl was like reading, like she was saying the Lord's Prayer that kept Jason from killing her. But then he decided not to, chose to do another movie. And then I think they said he went into the seminary is what I read. I don't know if he actually became a priest. But
I don't know.
I'm just saying from my reading.
Yeah,
that was.
Again, I had the reference to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein with the lightning and stuff like that, but we already covered that. Karloff's Something, which you referenced. Cunningham's Road, which I said was a nod to Sean Cunningham, the original director of Friday the 13th. They say it's out on Cunningham's Road. Aside from Alice, who has the minor role in the second film as well as the starring role in the initial one, Tommy Jarvis is the only recurring protagonist in the series, even though he's played by 3 different actors. The writer for part 6, Tom McLaughlin, decided that Jason would not harm that child. Remember, he comes in there and all the kids are sleeping except the one girl, and he sort of leans over and he doesn't kill her. They wouldn't harm the child out of sympathy for the plight of the children, which was generated or traced back to his childhood drowning. So I actually didn't really dig that because they're trying to humanize him in a certain way. And I thought the whole point of this was to sort of dehumanize him.
Oh, and stick bean.
I thought it made sense personally because like his whole thing was vengeance against, older, like the counselors, right? Like children, I just always had thought would be considered like innocent in his eyes.
Yeah. We know it's crazy. In that one, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, Michael.
Oh, I was just saying, I mean, I think both work. It's one of those things where you make up rules, right? Like it's like you're like that's like the fun part of this stuff is where you come up with this like mythos and like the what's going on with what's going on. So it's like you come with these, Jason doesn't do this, didn't do that.
Right.
So
it was interesting because that was
he should have killed those 2 fucking boys though. Like we're
getting to that. That's a Franklin's
opportunity.
That's a Franklin's award. Relax, we're coming to Franklin. That was the only movie actually where the kids are present for Camp Crystal Lake, which is renamed Camp, Forest Green or whatever.
Yeah,
but
every other one seemed fucking. I'm sorry, I don't want to get.
Well, that's the other thing. So the kids are never there. It's always the camp counselor setting up or getting their orientation done. This was the very first one where they had kids. And what bothered me, and this was such a nerdy fucking thing, but like there's 2 bunks where the kids are in, and there's 10 beds in in each bunk. So there's theoretically 20-ish kids there. Do you know how many staff members are there?
I don't fucking.
It was like 6 or something.
Like 8 or 9.
Yeah,
you're looking at You're looking at 1 to 2 ratio. Are you fucking kidding me for this camp?
That's what I was gonna say. Is the camps when when I watch them, the camps look fucking awesome. Being the camp counselors look fucking like in part 4 and like when it's like they're showing up and they're doing the setup. That's like to me, some of the best parts of them, like
Yeah.
I'm watching them, like Jesus
I love
Christ,
that.
this
Yeah, I
seems
love that.
so fucking great. I wish I was fucking there right now. I would let Jason kill me if I could do this for
I
a
love this,
fucking
Sled.
week. Like, you know
Talk
what
to
I
him,
mean? Like,
Sled.
I watched it. It was
I
like,
got you.
oh my god! Like, it looks so fucking great. Like, wherever the fuck they were, the first one. 4 is in California, which is actually something I want to talk about. It annoyed me it was in California just because me as a fucking nature nerd, it looked different. It was
Can't-
like this isn't the East Coast, I could tell. But the 6 is in Georgia. But like either way, being
Yes,
in a
Covington,
fucking
Georgia.
sweet ass
Covington-
camp place was like I was like, this
Covington,
looks
Georgia.
fucking great. Let Jason kill me if I
Sled,
can fucking
Sled,
hang out here
shut
every
the
summer.
fuck. All right, shut up. We got to move on. Okay, Covington, Georgia, about 20 miles outside of Atlanta was where that was filmed. All right, I got a couple more, and then we'll move on to the next segment. So let's see. Oh, speaking of the kids in the bunk there, while he walks up to the poor young girl who's saying the Lord's Prayer, she's terrified. There is a close-up shot of Jean-Paul Sartre, his novel No Exit, which I guess was their way of having a sort of wink, wink, nod,
Yeah,
nod.
one of the boys
joke.
had the novel. He fell asleep reading the novel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who?
Jean-Paul
one of-
Sartre, No Exit, a very existential French
Yeah,
novelist. Yeah.
Hell is other people, I think, is the
Sounds
theme
pretty
there.
gay.
So, and the last
By the
one I
way,
had,
very appropriate thing for a 10-year-old camper to
just
be reading.
kidding.
Yeah.
right?
Shithead.
Yeah.
No,
That's
Sled,
exactly what a 10-year-old reads. Yeah.
Sled, you gave me the perfect setup for the final one. Speaking of gay, Sissy, our girl Sissy, the cute black counselor, she is reading a Men at Play magazine. Very, very spicy. Did anyone else notice that?
Not only did I notice it, I attempted to Google it. And by the way,
You
don't
attempted?
do
Is
that.
this like are you about to get revealed? You're gonna be like, Jay's been fucking Googling minute. What the fuck?
Men at
By the
Play.
way, there's nothing wrong with Googling Men at Play.
No, it's
No,
not
I
wrong.
mean,
saying,
no,
I
not at
expected
all.
to find like a 1980s
I agree.
magazine.
There's
That's
nothing
not what
wrong
I
with
found.
it.
Is my point.
Yo, there was well, whatever. All right, never mind. All right, let's move
No,
on.
finish
Okay,
what you're saying. What the fuck was it? Like, I don't even know what
So
it is.
I didn't know. I didn't know. I mean, I knew like Playboy and stuff like that existed as a kid. When I was, do we really doing this? We're really trying to finish. Okay. And I'm at the playground at like 9-year-old Jesse, the most innocent like kid you could think of. And there's a girl there who I had a crush on who was like 2 years older than me. I guess she'll remain nameless since I'm sure she's probably listening. She comes to the playground with a fucking hard copy porn magazine, which is like
Of Men at Play?
of like basically Men at Play. Yeah,
It's
it was
like Playgirl or what?
yeah. Can't even pretend to remember. It was like the janky brand, off brand Playgirl.
Were these dicks or pussies? I'm just trying to get to the
It
heart
was
of the
guys.
story.
There was it was a bunch of. She was
So it's
looking at
dicks.
like
All right,
she was
gotcha.
looking at like naked dudes,
Yeah,
and she's like,
no.
Right.
So yeah.
no, so that was the whole story. And I was like taking it. She like opens it up and she's like, guys, look at this. And we're a bunch of kids playing freeze tag at the playground. And there's like some dude in a hammock with his fucking schlong hanging out. And I'm like, what are you? I was like, I don't understand what's happening.
Greatest fucking story you ever
Straight-
told me. I've known you for 20 years. This is the best story you've ever fucking told. Oh,
Well,
I
her
was
name-
excited I'd be some fucking little girl bought a fucking magazine with dicks in it. Jesus Christ.
Like a
This is like-
hardcore porn mag.
that bitch is
right?
real. What's her name?
Stephanie Glick. There you go. I don't know what her name is now.
I know
I
that.
don't know her now.
She's ready
I know
to
that
rule the
name.
world. Holy fuck!
You- how
I'm
did-
trying to
wait,
imagine
Joel,
a
how do
little
you know that
girl
name? She
bringing
didn't
You
go to
told
junior-
me that name
Oh.
before.
Oh,
All I know is
all right.
the thing that made
that's
that
a great
story-
untold
Yeah.
story.
So-
You really buried the lead here. I could have done 3 hours to hear about
All right,
Stephanie Glick bringing.
trying-
That sounded like it
Jazz,
was gonna.
Jazz,
Like
what
it
do you
was
got?
gonna end up
the
with,
thing that
like,
made the story
Sleepaway.
was that you remembered the hammock.
Yeah.
I thought it was like amazing.
All right, can I move on,
Yeah,
please,
move
for
on.
God's sakes? All right, so we're going right to the Franklin Award, which I think I know Sled's already, but I'm going to get mine in before Sled goes on a fucking bender here and talk for 20 minutes. Teddy Bear from Part 4, Mr. Deadfuck himself, right? He keeps needling poor Crispin Glover.
I'm with you.
Okay,
I
he's
hated Teddy.
and he's actually the perfect speaking of platonic ideal for something, he is the perfect Franklin Award candidate because not only do we root for him to die, we are supposed to hate him. He's trying to make us hate him, as Sled pointed out, which is what originally the Franklin character from Texas Chainsaw was supposed to be. Let me give you a quick runner-up, and then I'm going to turn it over to the fucking floor. Runner-up is Megan from Part 6, Sheriff Garris's daughter. She didn't give a shit when her camp counselor friend's fucking body started popping up. She's reclining in her father's office chair, fucking with trying to balance her feet in the air, goofing, dicking around, not a care in the world. Spends most of her time trying to fuck a fucking guy who her police officer father says is a psychotic murderer and has locked behind bars. She is not hearing it. She's like, I will come pick you up right now at fucking Boris Karloff's gas station. All right, next.
Okay, well, so I agree with you on the first point. Teddy Bear needs to die. Second point, I'll have to respectfully disagree because she was kind of cute, and
She had to be a hot blonde.
don't
Wasn't that like a thing?
don't blame her, right? Like, I can change her. It's not her fault.
I'm gonna. So my Part 4 Franklin Award is actually gonna go to the twins. I found them both extremely annoying. I was very happy in their way. Each of them deserved the Franklin Award. So
poor Judy Aronson. They stole her fucking boyfriend,
know,
and she's
really
and Judy
messed
Aronson's
up.
hot as shit, dude.
She was hot. She is hot. I mean, she was the one that, from Weird Science, which came out the same year.
Yep.
She was the one who basically they gave up Kelly LeBrock for. So I mean, that should tell you something about how she was viewed in the 80s.
Yeah.
And I agree with Jesse on Part 6. It's Megan. The actress sucked. She was smirking through every scene in this sort of thing that was super annoying. And, she caused so much mayhem, and, she just desered to die.
Okay.
And the fact that
So
she didn't was really bad. Yeah.
We've established that that's my kink. I didn't know, but okay.
There you go.
Sled, what do you got?
I mean, Part 4, to me, it seems Crispin Glover is the obvious Franklin Award. He's annoying as fuck. Kidding? He just whines all the time. The guy. I mean, there's the guy. I mean, you could get led astray to think that he's being harassed by this other guy, but actually, Crispin Glover is really fucking annoying. This is definitely you want this guy to die. I mean, you feel bad for him too. I mean, same thing with Franklin. He's a cripple, and he gets rolled off into the woods trying to take a piss. But you still hate the shit out of him.
All right.
So,
all right.
Six. Who did I want to die in that? 6. No one. They're all fantastic.
All right. Let's move on. Our final segment here. Any questions we have? These can be, storyline, plot questions, or existential questions. Anything that we were left sort of bothering us after watching these movies. I had a question right off the top. Why does Tommy shave his head?
Oh, so he looks like Jason. He looks like Jason as a boy.
Does Jason look like that?
Yeah. Go look at the pictures of Jason in the dream sequence from 1.
When he jumps out of the lake to pull
bald.
Alice into the...
Well, more specifically, from Tommy's perspective, the information that he has is the newspaper clippings that Rob has, and one of them has a picture of Jason as a boy. And the best I can think of what's going through Tommy's mind is I'm just gonna play some sort of psychological trick on Jason to make him think that I am Jason as a little boy,
or someone similar too, right?
Or someone similar, and to just in the end, it was a brief distraction. It was hardly worth it,
right?
But do you think maybe he just mostly felt bad that he didn't fucking leave like he was supposed to? The sister,
I think mostly.
Tommy, you're supposed to fucking leave.
I know.
He was supposed to leave. Yeah. He messed up. His sister literally put her life on the line and escaped by the skin of her teeth, threw herself out a window. She comes back in and he's like, "Oh, hey Trish, is that you? I'm in the bathroom."
Jesus Christ.
I'm just shaving I'm giving myself a haircut.
Yeah. And can you imagine being Trish? I would have been like,
okay.
I gave you a fair shot. Anyway.
Another question. So if Jason dies as a child via drowning at Camp Crystal Lake, then how come he's fully grown as an adult in Part 2?
Unexplained. It's just there is not a reason that, at least as far as I've heard that is adequate to explain that. And you and I talked about this a little, Jesse. It's like people just went, we need another killer. And so they picked Jason, right? Like that's
right.
I think that's it.
You guys got any questions? I have a few more, but I don't want to.
I got a few.
What do you got, Jess?
So did Gordon the dog jump out of a window to escape, or did Jason push him out of a window?
No, he jumped out. Yeah, as any good dog would have the fucking common sense to get the fuck away from that. My dog is a coward, so yeah, she definitely would have jumped out the window to get out of there.
Okay. And then what was going on with Sarah? So at the very beginning, so she's the other blonde, the one who was with the dude in the shower scene.
The fake Rob Lowe, yes.
Yeah, the fake Rob Lowe. Good description. So at the beginning, she's like, "Oh, you're bunking with the nurse." She's like, "What? Oh no!" And she's like, "Don't worry, they're bunk beds." And it seems like she's not interested in anything. And then, like, for no reason whatsoever, while they're watching a vintage porn movie. On literally like 8mm film or something like that.
Love it. Love that Teddy Bear loves
stag,
that.
Stag film, I think is what they call them, right? Stag film. That's what like our grandpas call them.
I definitely what my grandpa called.
I don't know my grandpa.
And then she all of a sudden she's like, I think I'm gonna go to sleep. And like she's like, oh, you tired? She's like, no. And then like afterwards she's like in love with him in the like what was she?
Okay, so what is your question?
He was hoping that Nikki was going to show up from the fucking RV.
Yeah, like or what was her deal?
I think she was always into him.
Yes, she was very, at least for me, very clearly always into him. Her apprehension about being stuck in the same room as him, which was Samantha told her that, Judy Aronson, was she was intimidated. I think she's a virgin or at least inexperienced. And she was like, oh shit, like what am I supposed to do? Oh, don't worry, you guys don't have to sleep together. You're on bunk beds. You can play it cool. Then as the night progresses, and he's a nice guy, he's very gentlemanly to her, right? He defers to her, especially there. Again, this I don't want to cull from other podcasts, but like, it's what I was listening. It's like, it's actually a fairly progressive scene.
Think so?
Where she's like, I think so. She's like, do you, I'll sleep on the bottom. Oh, are you not going to sleep there? No, I'll sleep there. Oh, we're going to sleep together. He's like a very nice deferential guy, and she's into it. And she's like, okay, I'm going to let you know. I want to hang out. I want to mess around tonight. And she's like, I'm going to go get cleaned up or whatever. So I think she's definitely into him. She always was into him. She was just a little nervous.
Okay.
That's how it read to me.
And then my last one was, why did Jason leave the like harpoon in part 4? Why did he leave like the harpoon and other stuff in the tent of Rob? What was the point of that?
He goes into the tent to ransack it, and the primary function of that was to rip up and destroy the rifle, which then Rob comes in and sees that it's fucking broken. Yeah. To be like, you can't kill me, bro. Like, I'm gonna. I had a question about at the beginning of part 6. You got Arnold, you got Horshack and Tommy cruising down the road on the way to the cemetery, and they give us via expository, and as much as there is any, that Tommy wants Jason's body, quote, destroyed and sent to hell. Not to be pick nits here, but isn't the body already rotting and decomposed? And then, like,
very badly.
And so when he digs Jason up, he sees just that the body is destroyed. So, like, why isn't he saying mission accomplished and walking away?
I suppose destroyed meant in his mind, like, literally there's nothing left, cremated or whatever. I mean, I don't think there's any reason for it. Then they just wanted to create the lightning scene.
I mean, pretty
much it. Yeah.
He kind of goes ape shit, right? I mean, I think it's supposed to be a replica of leading off of 4 into 6, where he just like gets really irrational and causes this problem. Well, Tommy is the real villain.
Yeah, I was good. Well, no, Sled. I mean, he was literally slated to be the new Jason Voorhees, which I don't think we even mentioned.
Well, I know. I mean, 5 is kind of about that. 5 just is fucking garbage, right? I mean,
yeah. Well, they scrapped the idea because it did not play well at all with audiences. So they were just
but
like,
even at the end of 4, that was the implication, right? Like he's gone off the
they were building to that. I had another question, which I think we addressed, but I just want to talk about Nikki more, Darcy DeMoss. What is she doing? What is she doing to him in the fucking RV? Is she actually dancing or fucking or dance fucking?
Mostly dance fucking, as far as I could tell.
I think the easy answer, Jesse, is whatever the fuck she wants.
Whatever the fuck she wants to do.
Yeah.
She knows the world.
And it may be
Jay,
some of
that's
them.
a good.
Yeah.
Can we get her on the show? Is there possible? I'm going to reach out to her. I'm going to see if we can get her.
Please
on the show.
don't. Like, there's going to be a restraining
If
order.
if I reach out 3 or 4 dozen times gently, I think everything's gonna be okay.
It'll play out. Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions? Because if not, we're gonna get out of here.
Hold on, I might.
Sled's just gonna make some shit up off the fly here. Joel, you got anything while Sled's thinking?
No, I think we covered it.
Jazz, any more?
I mean, I could talk about the dynamic between the twins forever, but I think that should just be its own separate 37-hour podcast.
Oh, I had something.
That's our other podcast.
I had something, Sled. Sled, I'll buy you some time here. There's a couple which was also thrown in after the fact to add to the kill count here, was the couple who's picnicking in the middle of the fucking night. And I don't mean like on
weird.
I don't mean like in a field somewhere adjacent to a suburban cul-de-sac.
Like in the woods.
They're in the woods with nothing close to here. Even Rob says when he gets picked up, I didn't think anyone lived this far out, right?
Yeah.
And so this couple, a grown-ass adult couple, not 16-year-olds trying to go find some place to smoke weed and fuck. A grown-ass couple, I think he proposed marriage to her. They're on a blanket with like plastic champagne flutes and in the middle of nowhere. And the only one even close to them is Martin the Gravedigger, who's blind drunk, who's lost in the woods, walking home, presumably. What the fuck is going on? Why the fuck? What?
The only possible explanation did he actually propose? I think he might have, but the only possible explanation I had originally was like they're cheating and they want to be away from prying eyes. The other one, I guess, is like they want to be away from prying eyes because parents, they want to hide things from parents. They're
like 33.
Well, I mean, they don't say their ages
right
necessarily, but yeah.
All right, so this is your last chance, brother.
What do I got? So I mentioned it before, but 4 was filmed in California. So the natural aesthetic threw me off a bit. I thought it didn't match up. It's an East Coast film, Friday 13th.
Well, yeah,
right?
it starts off in New
York.
Jersey. Yeah, it starts off in Jersey. Yeah.
Why do Jason's eyes still look normal when the rest of him is all fucked up? That bothers me.
He feels good, man. That was like getting PRP, like fucking platelet-rich plasma injections, getting struck by lightning. He's fucking regenerated. His joints feel good.
Yeah, but not his eyes. I mean, his eyes look good. Everything else looks like shit.
Hi, he moves pretty well. He moves pretty well.
He moved better than he did in the previous movie.
James Bond, I wanted to make an extra call out to the James Bond-esque
I don't know.
fucking intro for 6.
I
thought
love
was
that.
I thought that was very intentional. Like that was supposed to be like doo-doo-doo. Like it was like, I don't know. I think that's worthy of calling out. Goofy guy running around during paintball reminds me of Sweet Chuck from Police Academy. And we had the Police Academy guy and the
Where was this,
police...
dude? These are your tidbits, sir, in trivia.
Fuck, we're finishing up. These are all the people listening now. They're not listening. So this is the stuff that no one wants to hear. I'm hitting the notes that I did not get to hit. Twin brothers on paintball crew versus twin sisters in 4.
I don't think they're twins in the paintball.
Oh, you know what I fucking missed? The daughter in 6.
It doesn't matter, Jazz. He's going.
The daughter in 6. Does she not seem like she kind of wants to fuck her dad, the sheriff? They have a weird relationship. Did they not have, like, they had a weird vibe. Like, the way they interact was, like, uncomfortable to me. If my daughter, like, so you're looking for your sled moment, because I'm always, I'm the guy who does this. But, yeah.
Electra complex.
I wrote this down as a note. I was like, the daughter seems awkward to me with her dad.
You saying? Well, I think it's just the protective daddy shit of like, I don't want this scumbag potential murderer 17-year-old Tommy Jarvis. Fucking my daughter
I get
thing.
that part of it, but there was some weird stuff in there.
All right, we got to roll. You got no questions? We got any more? We're out of here. All right,
it's gonna be a hairy turn.
It is good. That, you know what, Jazz? That might be our intro. I think actually before we hit the music.
One more thing.
God damn it!
After discussion about how Tommy was with her the whole time, and Sheriff tells Deputy to lock him up, he says, "Okay, Flash, into the cage." That's a comic reference because the Flash can move faster than the speed of light and can move through time. At least that was the way it was really random to me. There you go.
That's actually very good. I did not pick up on that. All right, boys. Join us next episode as we return to the Lovecraftian themes at the intersection of science and horror with the 1985 film based on a Lovecraft novelette, The Reanimator. We're pairing that with the popular 80s movie starring Jeff Goldblum, The Fly. Join us as these movies promise to make for a lively discussion next episode. Remember, you can shoot us an email at choppingituphorrorpod@gmail.com, or you can message us via Instagram at choppingituphorrorpod. We are up on all major streaming services, including Spotify, Line Notes, Amazon, and Apple. If you want to see our handsome faces and ripped physiques and Sled wearing a fucking Jason Voorhees hockey mask.
You know what? Fuck, I missed the whole. Sorry, I'm fucking up your outro.
You had it on. What do you mean? You can also check us out on YouTube as well, Chopping It Up Horror Pod on YouTube. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Chopping It Up.
Wherever the red dot goes, you bang.